Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We are live here at Nissan Stadium but it's Toy Field. It looks like we are about a quarter of the way through the field that needs to be filled with toys, which means we need you out here today to bring gifts for children who are in need and elders, seniors who have also a need at this time of year and who we may not otherwise be thinking about. Be good to shine a light on everybody today, and you can do that and show your appreciation and show your care, courtesy of the Salvation Army and their Forgotten Angels here at Toy Field today. All four shows. Well, I guess all three of us that have yet to do our shows between ourselves, Blane and Mickey, and 3HL will be out here the rest of the afternoon until 6 p.m., so you can stop by. Did you bring your toys?
Brought some Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels.
Never fails.
Classic Hot Wheels.
Did you remember?
I did. I went to Green Hills this morning.
What'd you get?
I got, in this courtesy of the Nashville Toy and Bookstore. Did you know that Toys R Us has been defunct for like a decade?
I did not know that.
I did not know that until I Googled Toys R Us this morning, only to find out that my childhood had been ripped away. So instead of, being sexist like you and just forgetting about all the little girls out there since you went and got your Hot Wheels today, I got a Barbie, I got Legos, and I got a pack of Pokemon cards for a small young bird out there who I'm sure somebody has forgotten about and may need some Pokemon cards.
So according to Buck
Christmas.
Rising, little girls are not allowed to play with Hot Wheels.
Oh,
so who's
way
the
to
sexist?
turn that on me. That's right. So I came prepared. I got to Green Hills and back. I even had time to get my coffee this morning in like 20 minutes. It was insane. It was bizarre. I was really risking it. I thought I was going to be late to Toy Field today because I forgot last night. I forgot because you didn't remind me. You didn't remind me to bring the toys.
No, it's not on me to remind you.
It is on you because it is on you. If I forget, then it's 100% on you because at least that's who I'm going to blame. So I doubled down or tripled down, I guess, today and shout out the Nashville Toy and Bookstore for providing said toys. Great little local toy store over there in Hillsborough. No, Green Hills, not
Yes.
Hillsborough Village.
This is always one of the best days of the year. A reminder that if you are coming to drop off toys, which you can do at any point, really until 6 p.m. when 3HL is off the air, come in through Korean Vets, the gateway bridge there on the side, and they will let you right on through and drop them off right here outside of Concourse 1.
Yes, I was also late because that side is blocked off.
Yes.
The side.
Yes, come in through the gateway bridge through the Korean Vet side. Robert Walsh figured that part out.
Oh, he must have heard that I bought Pokemon cards for children that aren't
That's right.
him
He's
today.
here to snag the Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm. Look at him. He's like a gremlin over there. Anyway, so the whole Cumulus cluster is out here hanging out because it's Toy Field. It's a great time of year. It's the 16th year that we have been out here as a station. And this is the third Toy Field that you and I have done together. And last year at this time, somebody was fired. So now I've got like a big black marker that I'm circling Toy Field with to see who's going to get fired this year. This year, Craig Aukerman got canned. So
A tradition like no other.
apparently, where everybody else is bringing gifts, the Titans organization is bringing pink slips. Merry Christmas. We're out here at Nissan Stadium until 6 p.m. today. Stop by, bring a toy. Kirby is policing said toys. He is there, I assume, for quality control.
Yes.
Okay, him and Bert hanging out there together. So we'll talk about the Titans and the firing later, as is tradition at this time of year. But last night, in what was one of the better Monday Night Football games, unexpectedly, because they did not have Joe Burrow for the Cincinnati Bengals, all they did was flip the 9 upside down, and apparently it gave Jake Browning superpowers because that dude was absolutely electric last night. Battle of the backups. Trevor Lawrence goes down late with an ankle injury. The overtime period is where the Jags and the Bengals, with both their backups, C.J. Beathard coming in for Jacksonville, have to duke it out.
Nashville legend.
Yes, well, maybe wait until after his first snap to claim him because he did take his first snap and then immediately fumbled the ball away. So not exactly what you want there. I'm sure Jags fans. Packed house last night at Everbank Stadium, it looked like. And Jacksonville getting handed an L. Robert actively rooting for the Cincinnati Bengals last night because his Ravens are in the hunt for the number 1 overall seed, which is currently possessed.
How the turntables for Robert Walsh to be cheering for the Bengals.
I think he felt a little dirty last night on primetime. Also, he was smoking cigarettes inside whilst doing primetime, so I think there was an extra layer of filth that came associated with it. But do you know who is currently the number 1 overall seed in the AFC?
The number 1 seed in the AFC is the Miami Dolphins.
Indeed it is. The Titans' next opponent, who they will play without Jeffrey Simmons, so hang on to your butts, kids. It's going to be a long night in Miami. That's right.
They're 14-point underdogs. That's a massive number.
I mean, you think 14 points in the NFL is huge. 14 points in the NFL is absolutely huge, and you would probably still be tempted to take the Titans to cover, but I don't know about this particular situation, and we'll have time to dive into that tomorrow. Backup quarterbacks though all over the league, right? Joe Burrow's already done for the year. We've talked about Deshaun Watson. Derek Carr had a scary situation over the weekend. Titans have gone through a quarterback at this point in time, even though Will Levis is no longer the backup. He's the starter. Technically, Ryan Tannehill was the starting quarterback to start the season. The list goes on and on. Do you have one in front of you?
Well, how many is that? How many would you project? How many teams in the NFL have had to play their backup because the starter went down due to injury, not a New England Patriots situation?
Oh, where they just keep pulling them over and over and over
because they're just terrible.
Yes, that's right.
No, due to injury.
I would bet that half the league, 16 teams, have played their backup quarterbacks due to injury.
Okay, so Titans, Colts,
yes,
Saints,
yes,
Falcons,
yes,
Jets,
yes.
So that's 5.
Do the Falcons count?
I'm counting it.
Do the Falcons count?
I count Arthur Smith.
I don't think that's true.
Pulling Desmond Ridder, quote unquote, for a concussion against the Titans as benching his starter for Taylor Heineke.
Okay.
I count, and Heineke started the next game.
Okay, continue.
So that's 5. Steelers. Kenny Pickett's out for the foreseeable future. It's the Mitch Trubisky show in Pittsburgh.
Surgery.
That's right. Arizona, who has had to go through multiple quarterbacks this year. Kyler Murray is back, but they had to start Joshua Dobbs, Clayton Tune because of Murray's injury. So that's 7. Miami. Tua's been healthy this year.
Yeah.
Tua's played every game this year.
Yeah. Tua and Hurts. I mean, Hurts missed a couple of snaps, but he hasn't missed a start since taking over that Philadelphia Eagles job.
I don't think Russell Wilson's missed any games. No. C.J. Stroud hasn't missed any games. Has Sam Howell missed any games? I don't think so. I don't think the Commanders have had to go with Jacoby Brissett this year.
I feel like it might have been in a game where he missed time, but not outright.
Not a
start.
Browns are for sure one.
Browns have been through several at this point in the year.
Hurts was briefly injured over the weekend, but came back in. So we did see some Marcus Mariota for the Eagles over the weekend, but that doesn't count.
Almost threw an interception.
Brock Purdy has been healthy. Patrick Mahomes has been healthy. Jordan Love has been healthy. And then you've got the Bengals and potentially now the Jags.
I mean,
so that's
Troy Aikman last night with the obvious saying that list is just too long. And I was like, yes, I agree with you, Troy. It's entirely too long.
Jimmy G, the Raiders, Justin Fields with the Bears, Kirk Cousins with the Vikings, Daniel Jones with the Giants, and Lamar has not missed any games.
Not this year.
Right?
No, he's also been healthy, which, is something that I think was a big talking point before he got his new deal.
Almost half the league.
Point being, half the league has missed time with their starting quarterbacks due to injury. And it doesn't matter how much they change the rules to skew it in favor of the offense or to protect the quarterbacks, the body weight, roughing the passer rule and things like that. Like these dudes still get hurt because the sport is inherently reckless and violent and dangerous, and that's what happens. And also you've expanded the regular season, so the backup quarterback, we talked about this when they expanded the regular season and when they expanded the playoffs. The backup quarterback has never, ever, ever been more important than it is right now in the modern day NFL, because at some point your 2 is going to have to play. And I saw, I don't know his real name, the PFT from Barstool. Do you know his real name?
No.
Pro Football commenter. Anyway, I saw him making the comment about the Jags were voted out of the NFL playoffs due to the backup quarterback situation.
Yep.
Even though they are 8-4 with a shot at the committee, the College Football Playoff Committee, for leaving out Florida State because of their third-string quarterback.
Seen people make that reference to the Eagles team that won the Super Bowl. Imagine if Carson Wentz went down and there was a committee that said, oh, they're just not the same team with Nick Foles.
It's Nick Foles. Of course they can't win a Super Bowl. And then he goes and outduels Tom Brady. Now, I will say that professional athletes are a little different. It's the top 1% of college football players that even make it that far. But I think that it is kind of an apt comparison as we get ready to talk some college football throughout the course of the rest of the day. because there's a great piece out there by Heather Dinich right now on ESPN.com inside the CFP selection meetings and what gut-wrenching, painstaking efforts they took to make sure that they offended apparently the least amount of people in their particular position with the Final Four that they selected. So we'll get into the details of that coming up next. We're live at Toy Field. Somebody's already been fired, so perhaps you don't have to worry about somebody getting fired today, even though Toy Field does tend to mark those things for the local professional football team these days.
The day is young.
The day is young. So because the day is young, that means there's still plenty of time for you to come out here, bring a toy for a child, for the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels, or a senior that is in need. Lucas, I asked you what seniors were in need of. You told me blankets.
What did you bring?
Toys, because I couldn't find a place that sold blankets at 9 a.m. 615-737-1045 is the number. Live from Toy Field, it's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back live from Toy Field here on 104.5 The Zone, a cast of thousands apparently and a peanut gallery to boot. Nobody has ever looked more suspicious than Kirby Allen Kirby and Robert Walsh walking in from smoking cigarettes outside of Toy Field together. What a welcome committee for those of you dropping off your children's gifts or gifts for a senior.
Just peering over the toys, just scanning.
Well, he's scanning. See, this is the problem with Robert being here because now you should immediately be on high alert. It's like our trip to Bonnaroo where he's just picking random things up off the ground to see if any of it is salvageable. Like I'm concerned that he's going to try and lift a toy here today. You're worried about me being the Grinch.
I bet Robert was more generous than you this morning.
Did you bring toys?
I don't believe you. Brought toys.
I don't believe you. So we will divert back to Titan stuff in NFL here in just a little bit, but there was a fascinating piece on ESPN.com this morning.
Jordan on the F&M Bank chat says Kirby and Burt need to be part of the playoff committee.
Well, perhaps they would have the same kind of inner demons that it seems this playoff committee was fighting with at 1:30, between 1:30 and 2 a.m. Central Time on Sunday morning after the conference championship games concluded. So Heather Dinich at ESPN.com with the piece. When the 13 members of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee finally left their meeting room, they had been sequestered for hours as they determined the top 4 teams in the country. They knew what they could potentially wind up with, and it didn't feel good. Bum, bum, bum.
This is a great piece from Heather Dinich.
It really is. And so there's the committee members are not named necessarily, but the quotes in there basically articulate for those of you who are saying the committee did the bad thing that was in the best interest of all of college football consuming America, for which we thank them for doing the wrong thing. I think that at least, I think the discerning among us thank them for doing the wrong thing. Basically to articulate the kind of inner conflict that was going on in the meeting room. Now, you may read this and be skeptical and say, well, are they just saying this after the fact to justify, the wrong that they did to some extent, to have some kind of, maybe somebody was feeling a bit of a guilt trip about the sad Florida State fan wandering around Nissan Stadium on Sunday as the Titans played the Colts that I saw just by himself amongst the crowd. But as she kind of works her way through this to provide some insight and information, the first quote, Lucas, is probably the best quote in the article, the quote that you see, I think, about 4 paragraphs down, and I don't want to take it from you if you'd like to read it for the audience.
Well, it's the two-parter. The first one, the first part of the quote, that is, quote, all of us had the emotional tie, like, holy bleep, this is really going to suck to do this, one committee member told ESPN. And then the second part of it, we talked about that over and over, and we just kept coming back to, are they good enough with what they have to win a national championship? And it just kept coming back to, we didn't think they could. That is the part that I think the college football world is taking issue with.
Sure.
The idea of people in a room deciding for Florida State, we don't think you're good enough to win the national championship, so despite doing everything in your power to get there, we're not going to give you the chance to do it.
What did the commenter say yesterday in the F&M Bank chat, which is also at your disposal on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch? If you can't make it out to Toy Field today, you can watch the live stream and hang out here at Nissan Stadium with us, where he said it's not a committee or it's not a selection process. It's an invitational.
Yeah.
At this point.
It's who I don't know who had the quote that I think it was Mike Greenberg on Get Up of ESPN, where he said,
he was hot about it.
College football became figure skating. It became a beauty contest.
Well, and then Robert had pulled, not to cite other people's takes here, but Robert is now outsourcing his only segment of the week on primetime to cigarette smoking inside and Stephen A. Smith clips. And so he had a clip last night of Stephen A. Smith saying, do you think Florida State would have been left out if Deion Sanders was their coach? And you make a face. You make a face, but if undefeated Deion Sanders is sitting there as the face of college football America, you think the College Football Playoff Committee is going to leave primetime out? I loved that. I loved it.
What a ridiculous hypothetical. That we're just making stuff up.
That's
now.
right. So is the committee is to an extent. Like, why is that so different than what the College Football Playoff Committee just did, Lucas? In all honesty, because my initial reaction was, oh my God, that's incredible television. He's so full of it. And also, I 100% see the angle that he's going at it with, because if the standard is not solely the performance of the team on the field, and you can factor in, margin of victory, and they have the clauses in there about the players who are available to play, which is the way that they've backed themselves out of the Florida State situation, these little addendums and things like that in the college football playoff committee selection guidelines, basically, then why is that such a ridiculous thing when they've basically just told you? They literally told you, are they good enough with what they have to win a national championship? And it just kept coming back to, we didn't think they could. Who is we, and why do you get to make that damn decision?
Yeah, they have a lot of different perspectives in that room. They have former members of college football media. They have former coaches. They have current athletic directors.
Is Condi still in there, Condi Rice?
Oh, I don't think so. Okay. I don't think Condi Rice is in there. I don't think Archie Manning is in there.
A brief stint for Condi.
The committee has evolved a lot since the initial ranking in 2014, which had some controversy of its own when TCU was left out. Because they didn't even have the opportunity to play for a conference championship. At the time, the Big 12 did not have a conference championship game. So I also found interesting the way they talked about watching the ACC championship together and having a hard time watching Florida State's offense operate, being impressed with the defensive effort against Louisville. But that game's tied 3-3 in the third quarter. They didn't like the way Florida's offense was operating against the Louisville team that gave up 31 points the week prior to Kentucky. I understand it was a third-string true freshman quarterback. But here's the difference, I will say, in Ohio State and Florida State, because that's the thing, that's the most common retort, right? Well, imagine telling that to Ohio State with Cardale Jones. The data point that we had with Ohio State with Cardale Jones was a 59-0 win over Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game.
That's a good point.
Where they looked at that and they said, well, that team didn't look any different with their third-string quarterback than they did with their first or second string. With Florida State, that wasn't the case. It's still harsh. It's obviously still unfair. But those two things, I think it's a little bit of apples and oranges when you look at the talent profile and what Ohio State put out there with Cardale Jones versus what Florida State did with Brock Glenn.
She adds, Heather Dinich does in this piece on ESPN.com, that the final layer of the complication and what was already the most difficult, this is the most difficult, most controversial decision that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee has made since this thing's inception, right? Like this,
easily.
This bar none. It's been pretty cut and dry, it feels like. For every year that they've done this, it's 2014 the first year, you said?
Yes, which is why I think a lot of staunch supporters of a 14 playoff have kind of backed off of it, because I think a lot of people's contention was we're never going to have a year where there are 5 or 6 teams that legitimately can contend for a national championship, so let's keep the 4-team field. And I think this situation has backed a lot of people off of that stance, because you look at it and you say, okay, this season, a 12-team playoff would have felt very, very appropriate.
Quote, we've never had a year with 8 teams at the top as good as these 8 are, and the 5 conference champions, 1 through 5. We've never had it come out that way. That's courtesy of the executive director of the selection committee, Bill Hancock. Quote, my feeling is it probably was the toughest. So they went through this process, and ultimately they came out with the decision that they did, excluding Florida State, including Alabama, which is the thing that is most controversial, and something that was never brought up was the exclusion of the SEC in general. Why is there a bottle of ghost pepper sauce in front of you?
John Hamilton from the Pig and Pie, who provided breakfast this morning. I believe I was one of, if not the only one, to put this ghost pepper hot sauce on my breakfast. It was fantastic. It was really hot, and we got to talking, and I told him about all the Carolina Reaper peppers that are sitting in my freezer that we grew over the summer. I've got like 30 Carolina Reaper peppers that I don't know what to do with. John, I believe, wants to barter with me for the peppers, so I have his business card here with the word peppers on the back of them, and he was gracious enough to give me this bottle of ghost pepper sauce. Thank you, John.
Incredible.
Thank you to the Pig and Pie.
You are going to. Why? Because you plan to do trade with them later?
Yes, I will barter with John with my peppers. And if anybody needs barbecue catering, the Premier Tennessee Wedding Caterer Award went to the Pig and Pie. Give them a call, 615-207-6265.
Indeed. The Pig and Pie out here at Toy Field today, where we are, presented by A.O. Smith at Nissan Stadium. Stop by, bring a toy. So to your point about the College Football Playoff Committee and the decision that they made, never was it contemplated that the SEC would be left out, and the note that Dinich has in there is because they continue, the committee, to come back to the idea of teams, not conference, not a great comparative to like the Pac-12 and the ACC, this was not like the best showing this year for the SEC as a conference, top to bottom, basically for strength of schedule arguments and things like that. Same for the Big Ten, right? Big Ten incredibly top heavy, which is kind of the thing that undermined Ohio State the most. But never was there consideration of leaving out the SEC, because never was there any consideration that Alabama or Georgia wasn't one of the best 4 college football teams in the country.
Correct. And I believe that. I don't think that there was a talking point in those meeting rooms of, well, guys, we can't leave out the SEC. Just a blanket statement. It is more of Alabama and Georgia are undisputably 2 of the best 4 teams in the country. Like, anybody that knows anything about college football would have to agree with that. So the committee did kind of get stuck between their standpoint of, no, it's 4 best, not 4 most deserving. They kind of got caught between 4 best and 4 most deserving, because Georgia is certainly one of the 4 best. They were left out. Florida State is certainly one of the 4 most deserving, and they were left out.
So, I mean, this is how it ends in controversy, right? The Final Four version of the college football playoff, because next year the field expands to 12. And basically, Bill Hancock, who this piece notes is retiring at the end of the year, because he's like, all right, I might as well get out now.
Get out with a bang.
This is already a bleep show. We made some noise. We had some fun. We had some laughs. We got some television dollars. I'll see y'all on the other side. I'll be drinking at Tommy Bahama somewhere on a beach. But basically, he's quoted at the end of this article saying that people are looking for perfection out of the system, and that there is no perfect solution. There was no perfect solution with the BCS when we let the computers do it. No perfect solution when we go back to the committee or go to a committee-type setting with the College Football Playoff Selection Committee and things like that. And I doubt very much that it will be completely perfect, even though they expand the field to include more teams, to keep more fan bases, I think, checked in for longer points in the season, rather than, okay, we'll find out where what bowl game our favorite team is playing in and decide whether we want to take a trip or not, depending on the location. But there's just no perfect solution. I assume that there is going to be some form of controversy with the 12-team college football playoff down the line. I just think that, like, were you in favor of 12 out from 4 to 12, basically?
Yes. The biggest contention against the 12-team playoff is that it would take away the value of the regular season in a lot of instances. And in some cases, yes, it would. Like, Michigan-Ohio State would not be an elimination game in the regular season finale the way it has been for the last couple of years in a 12-team system. Sure. But I do think all it would do would be expand the amount of regular season games that have an impact on the postseason. Like, now it is a select few games that are truly, if you win, you're still in contention. If you lose, you're out of the 4-team field. Moving forward now, there's going to be all sorts of matchups throughout the course of the season that are going to be critical for teams to stay in that top 12, like Tennessee, Missouri would have been earlier in the year, right? And the number 10 team in the country playing the number 17 team in the country. Those type of what we think to be in this format, kind of middling games. Yeah, they're against, they're ranked teams playing each other, but they kind of just matter to them and nobody else. Now would have significant postseason implications. Like, do you want to see what a 12-team playoff would look like this year?
Yes. Do you have have something that would articulate that?
Here's where the controversy would come this year. So you would have the top 4. Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama would have byes. So it would be Oregon taking on Missouri, and the winner of that game would play Michigan in the quarterfinal. It would be undefeated Liberty playing undefeated Florida State. Winner would play Alabama in the quarterfinal. Georgia taking on Ole Miss in a rematch. Winner would take on Texas in the quarterfinal. And then Penn State versus Ohio State, another rematch where the winner would play Washington in the quarterfinal. The controversy here would be LSU as the number 13 team in the country.
Spicy.
Banging the table. And
with the Heisman Trophy, or the player that should be the Heisman
Exactly.
Trophy,
putting out statements about, we are better than Liberty. We should be in the college football playoff.
I love that. So 615-737-1045 is the number. Dougie is in Nashville, wants to talk a little CFP.
How's it going?
Going great.
Lifelong FSU fan. Even I could admit Alabama is the better team than Florida State right now. But here's the issue I have with the committee. Going into championship week, FSU was number 4, right? Alabama was number 8, number 7, number 8.
Are we talking about last season or this season?
No, they're talking about going into the final ranking.
Going into championship week.
Bama was 8, correct.
Right. So the committee had FSU at 4 going in. What did FSU do to deserve to lose that number 4 spot? I think that FSU should have never been at number 4. If you're saying they're number 4 going into championship week, Florida State wins the conference. What did they do to deserve to get put out of number 4 when they were number 4 going in? They won the conference. So that's my issue with that, is they had Bama ranked too low and FSU ranked too high. It almost seemed like they were aiming for Georgia to beat Alabama before championship week even started. And then when Bama beat Georgia, they had to cover themselves for making that mistake.
It's a great point. And we appreciate the call, Doug. Thank you for it. 615-737-1045. Listen, we know why the week-by-week rankings exist, and, I don't know why we do that, plus the AP at the start of the year, which just immediately is invalidated as soon as we get to November with the college football playoff
Just things
rankings.
to talk about, that's all. Just to have a number next to a team name.
Okay, that's fine. Sports talk radio, paint by numbers. Anyway.
What's Indiana ranked right now in the AP poll in basketball? Are they not? No, sorry, sore spot. The point is, fans like that stuff, all right? Fans pay attention to where they fell in the AP poll.
I'm done with this segment.
The AP poll does not matter in college basketball on December 5th, does it? It doesn't matter one iota right now.
Sure
with the amount of college basketball left to be played. Yeah, don't worry, buddy. Your Indiana Hoosiers could get back into it.
No, they play Kansas at home. They're going to die. They're going to die painfully. They're going to die slowly over the course of 2 hours.
But Tennessee fans...
No, it's not.
We're still looking at the AP poll to see, okay, just how far would the Vols drop from number 10 after losing on the road at UNC? The answer is 17. So Tennessee now the number 17 team in the AP poll. That does not matter. Fans still like it. So it's just for talking points. That's all it is.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about rankings
We can
anymore.
get away from college basketball.
Okay, let's. 615-737-1045 is the number. Hanging out at Toy Field. Stop by. Coming up next... Are we going to do some high school football heroes?
We are efforting a visitor from Pearl Cone who won the 4A state championship over the weekend. So working on that throughout the course of the show. So we'll do Oh No coming up next.
That's next.
Want to have me on?
Welcome back to the show here at Toy Field, hanging out live with the rest of our Cumulus stations. Nash Icon out here, 92Q, 103.3 Country, 99.7 WTN. Everybody's hanging out for a great cause. We are continuing to take toy donations and gifts for seniors. Very appreciative of United Rental Service, Lucas, who came through with a bunch of toys. I saw a bunch of bikes as well that were not previously here when we arrived. People are outclassing us at our own event with whole bikes that they brought. You with your sad little Hot Wheels and my Barbie doll. We're not much competition here, it seems, for the United Rental Service people.
No, they came out in droves with the toys. It's always fun to see the field slowly fill up, and we'll be out here for another 7 or so hours, 6-7 hours. So, come on through.
Absolutely. 615-737-1045 is the number. What in sports made you say, oh, no, it's time to do it, Jackson? Hit it. (615-737-1045) is the number. What in sports made you say, oh, no, this week? So the more that I see the state of quarterbacking in the NFL, the more that I am discouraged by the product that lies ahead in the postseason. Backup quarterbacks all over the place. We went through it to start the show. Nearly half the league, if not half the league, has played their backup quarterback due to injuries to the starter. And a lot of these dudes, half the AFC North is out for the year at the quarterback position, which is crazy given the level of competitiveness. Or I guess, and now with Kenny Pickett and only 5 games remaining, him coming off of the high ankle sprain surgery that he recently had, his status is in doubt for the rest of the year as the Steelers try and hang on for dear life in their postseason picture. But the thing that made me laugh the most last night and made me say, oh, no, was the amount of basically Zach Taylor, who, despite his backup quarterback going out there and just balling, Jake Browning, just having an incredible night. He said last night with Lisa Salters that it's been a long time since he's gotten to win a game. Coming into the NFL from Washington a couple of years ago, just had the opportunity to go out there and win a game as a starting quarterback. Been some time. So I'm watching this, and I'm watching Zach Taylor call these kind of trick plays in the first half and throughout the course of the game where they keep trying to pitch it to a wide receiver. They're trying to flea flicker it almost or throw screens with wide receivers and things like that just to keep the Jags on their toes, except it does the exact opposite where your quarterback, I don't think Browning had thrown a damn incompletion when the wide receiver threw the interception to
Tyler
Jacksonville.
Boyd.
Tyler
That was
Boyd
brutal.
threw the interception to Jacksonville. The thing that made me say, oh no, last night was coaches unwilling to trust their quarterbacks. Like we're going through this a little bit here in Nashville, it feels like, where people are bothered by the level of conservatism that the Titans are approaching or are taking the approach with Will Levis, right? That they, the 4 straight 3-and-outs that the Titans had against the Colts over the weekend, how much of that is because the play callers and Mike Vrabel, by extension, are unwilling to take risks, unwilling to put the rookie quarterback in a position to turn it over where you feel like your margins are so thin. Coaches unwilling to trust these players when they're already out on the field, so bleep it at that point, especially a team that's 5-6 with precious little to lose at the bottom of their division, or was 5-6 prior to winning last night, now 6-6 on the year. Zach Taylor last night, it was just head-scratching to me, and it was fun to watch that game on the Manning cast because the Mannings lost their damn minds watching wide receivers throw interceptions when the quarterback was balling out that
So
night.
bad he threw it right to Josh Allen.
I'm saying.
Now, Mike Vrabel's contention there would probably be, if we don't get 2 punch blocked, we win the game. No matter, and we can go through and look, because I agree with you, it was conservative. It was run, pass right out the gate at halftime. It was defense, go win it, the way it was against Carolina. We can go through it again if we want to and break it down, the second half play calling. But if you're Mike Vrabel, you're saying that works if we don't get back-to-back punch blocked that lead directly to 10 points. That works if we don't get our punter broken in half and have an actual holder for an extra point that we probably win the game if we convert on.
Or have the presence of mind to practice the hold for the extra point prior to attempting the extra point. Ill-advised.
I thought the direction you were going to go was going to be following the Trevor Lawrence injury. I have a question. Would you say Jacksonville, Florida is a golf-friendly town?
Yes.
I would argue there might be more golf carts than humans in Jacksonville, Florida.
Well, certainly in downtown. There's precious little humanity in downtown Jacksonville, but Mike Mularkey famously retired and playing golf in Jacksonville.
Yeah, why are we making Trevor Lawrence walk damn near a mile back to the locker room from the middle of the field in Jacksonville with arms around trainers? Get the card out for this man.
Yeah.
I was screaming that at my TV yesterday. What are we doing here as he's gingerly trying his absolute best to put any weight on it that he can? And it took, I don't know how long, basically the whole second half or the whole rest of the game after he got hurt for him to actually make his way to the locker room. They have the cameras of him going into the bowels of the stadium. Where was the golf cart for your franchise quarterback,
Truly.
number 1 overall pick,
In front
Trevor
of a packed
Lawrence?
house. But you have to remember, Lucas, that place is a bleep hole. Like the Everbank Stadium. You've been with it, been to Everbank Stadium, or I guess at the time it was TIAA Bank Stadium with me last year. You know what kind of dump that place is. The press box leaks when it rains too much. And only recently have they upgraded the food situation so as not to poison people like Josh Pate, who are down there for the odd college football game, the world's largest cocktail party between Florida and Georgia. This is the lack of resources around Everbank Stadium are noted very, very much at this point. The idea that Trevor Lawrence did not have the golf cart is not funny because, of course, you want to make sure that he's protected, especially the level of investment that Jacksonville is getting ready to make in that quarterback at some point. But yeah, that was not funny for Trevor Lawrence, but it was objectively funny when you think about just Jacksonville and their stadium.
I do want you to always reference the artist formerly known as TIAA Bank Field as the place where Tennessee beat Indiana in the Gator Bowl, if you could, please, moving forward. My oh-no of the weekend, did you see what happened in the Saints game when Alvin Kamara goes tunneling out of bounds? And
Unfortunately, because they kept showing the damn replay
my
all
goodness.
over the place. Why we are so... Yes, thank you. Why we are so obsessed as a society with seeing people's legs bend backwards is beyond me. That Stonehouse, I couldn't run away from that Stonehouse replay. They showed it on the Jumbotron. They showed it on the broadcast. Well, obviously we saw it live on the field when we were here covering the game on Sunday. Like that and he's not a coach. He's not an official. Like who was?
it was a chain crew member that got
chain
hurt.
crew. Okay.
Yes, And this is, if anything, just an update for people watching that who were horrified seeing Alvin Kamara running out of bounds into a member of the chain crew and a gruesome leg injury. His name is Nick Piazza. He has been in stable condition at a local hospital, and he suffered a fractured fibula and a dislocated knee in the collision with Alvin Kamara. That was my oh-no of the weekend. Happy that Nick Piazza seems to be in good condition. They did have a cart for Nick Piazza.
Oh,
they
my
did stretcher
God.
him out.
A cart for the chain crew, but not for Trevor Lawrence. Not that one leg is. I mean, one leg is actually quantifiably more important than the other, unfortunately for Nick. But yes, the dislocated knee part of that's horrifying. That is a deeply uncomfortable. I mean, all of that's uncomfortable, but a deeply painful injury. Terrible. Oh goodness, that's a tough round of injuries for a big weekend of football.
It was a lot. Stonehouse obviously included. It's been a weird year in the NFL, especially with QB injuries. But we've got chain crew members going down. We've got punters getting put on IR. I mean, how often do you see a punter have to undergo season-ending surgery?
Precious few, I feel like, on a regular basis. But when you get your knee bent backwards, as this punter did, you understand why that might be problematic. Toy Field, we are out here broadcasting live. All 4 shows will be broadcasting live until 6 p.m. today. It typically means that somebody with the Titans is getting fired. It already happened. We'll talk about it coming up next.
It is 10:59. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica, broadcasting live from Toy Field at Nissan Stadium on 104.5 The Zone. Last night, Monday Night Football, the Jacksonville Jaguars fall to 8-4 with an overtime loss against the Cincinnati Bengals in a game that ended with both backup quarterbacks playing. Jake Browning in for the injured Joe Burrow for Cincinnati, and Trevor Lawrence exiting the game with an ankle injury, learning this morning it was a sprained ankle. Nashville native C.J. Beathard finishing out the game for Jacksonville, who again falls in overtime. Tennessee Titans made a coaching change following the 31-28 overtime loss to the Colts on Sunday as they dropped to 4-8. That game included 2 blocked punts, resulting in 10 points for Indianapolis. Mike Vrabel stating yesterday that the team parted ways with special teams coordinator Craig Aukerman. Assistant Tom Quinn takes over in the interim. Vrabel also providing injury updates, including punter Ryan Stonehouse, who will undergo season-ending surgery. Derrick Henry is not in concussion protocol after he left the game Sunday to be evaluated for a concussion, but defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons is expected to miss a couple of weeks with a knee injury, including the upcoming Monday night matchup in Miami. Speaking of Jeffrey Simmons, the fifth-year pro announced today as the Titans nominee for the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, recognizing NFL players for outstanding community service. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour live here from Toy Field. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you. I don't know who just pulled up with a whole U-Haul full of toys, but people have been unloading it for a couple of minutes out here. Really cool to see when somebody comes through with a Santa Claus-sized delivery, the way that a lot of people have already today. We are out here broadcasting live until 6 p.m., not us specifically, but the 104.5 The Zone network, I guess, alignment or array of programming, whatever the proper term is. It's presented by A.O. Smith at Nissan Stadium. So while you're out doing your holiday shopping, if you're doing a little holiday shopping on your lunch break, you can pick up an extra toy or a gift for a senior. Gift for seniors is very important. I see a lot of toys. I don't see a lot of blankets for seniors, Lucas. I just love that that's the thing. I honestly don't know. I don't know what qualifies. They're specifically toiletries, though, I hear is a big thing. Toiletries, important there. So if you want to pick up a gift for a senior or a member of the elderly among us to benefit the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels program, it would be really, really cool if you did. We're really grateful to the partners who make this thing possible. Cool Ray, A.O. Smith, Pig and Pie, Hattie B's, Lucas. Going to be back out here for lunch.
Waiting for that truck to pull up.
It's literally like watching a stray dog chase a mail truck around. Lucas, we're all wandering around the parking lot, sniffing out the Hattie B's. Shut the cluck up.
No shut the cluck up today for me.
No, that's probably wise.
Keep it simple.
And O'Charlie's, who is making the later part of the evening possible as well. So, from one situation to another, Toy Field is a great occasion for us to mark annually on our calendars. It also brings about the Black Monday, apparently, for the Titans, at least in the last 2 years, where John Robinson was fired on the 6th of last year. So we are almost a year to the date of John Robinson's firing, when this football team was 7-3 at the time, I want to say. 7-4 at the time before firing John, and it just slowly sank. No, I'm sorry, 7-5 coming off that Philadelphia Eagles loss. So there had been a couple of extra losses piled in there, but still a winning record at the time.
Division very much in play, controlled your destiny for it.
And they canned him. And, the obvious reasons, the state of the roster that we so consistently talk about, chief among them. And basically everything since the A.J. Brown trade went down, this has been a franchise in decline, fair to say. Yesterday, it was Craig Aukerman Now, we carried that press conference live for you, and we started the show off saying that we would be surprised if Mike Vrabel made an in-season coaching change. Lucas, I think both you and I were quite surprised when Mike Vrabel gave the least Mike Vrabel press conference of all time. So let me count the ways. Not only did he fire somebody in season for the first time since being the head coach here, this is his 6th season. So that's never happened. Not only did he disclose multiple injury situations, he even damn near gave what looked like a timeline, what could be mistaken for a timeline of a couple of weeks on Jeff Simmons, which is never, it's like breaking into Fort Knox, basically, for Titans media, even though that, correctly seems benign to the audience. That's not the kind of stuff that we get disclosed. And he also did something that I think is the biggest part in there that makes it feel the least Mike Vrabel-like. He fired Craig Aukerman before talking to the football team, before informing the players of the decision. Did you know that? Did you note that from yesterday's press conference where Gentry, I think it was Gentry Estes from the Tennessean, asked him specifically, Mike, how did you inform the team? And he basically said, well, they've gotten a day off here to kind of get themselves together. And Tuesday is typically the players' day off, but I guess Monday they had made the decision that, it was a brutal one. You guys, played into overtime, fought hard into overtime, came out on the wrong end of things. But I think just for the sake of everybody's mental health, they said, all right, take a break. He fired somebody and told us before he told the players. That's the least Mike Vrabel-like thing I've ever heard.
We have the audio of Vrabel informing us.
All right, so let's take it from the top of the press conference yesterday. Here was the head coach.
Let me just first start off by saying had a conversation with Craig Aukerman of going to move on and make a change there in our leadership on a special teams unit. I'm excited about the possibility of Tom Quinn leading that group. Tom's going to take over those duties. Brings a lot of experience and knowledge. He's a great teacher, and so hopefully we'll be able to, continue the stuff that we've done well, which there has been some, plenty of things in there that we've done well, and hopefully, eliminate those mistakes that cost you. So I want to thank Craig for what he's done for us, certainly in the time that I've been here, but felt like this was the best thing for the team and for the players moving forward, most importantly, the players.
So he's asked a couple of follow-ups there after the initial opening statement, and we can go through those with you together. So the follow-up first asked on if this decision was made over time. Yeah, and the quote, yes, again, just trying to evaluate what we do and who we do it with. And I just felt like this was the timing it needed to be and felt like it was best for the team and for the players, especially going forward. Then he's asked on him not making a midseason coaching move before as a head coach. No, there's no real precedent to anything, is how he responds. You try to get a feel for what's best and what's needed. Whether we've done something in the past, there's times we haven't run a certain coverage or we haven't run certain plays, and I think those decisions are about timing and feel. So that's the decision that was made. And again, we're going to get back to work here moving forward and trying to get as healthy as possible and go down and win a game against a very good opponent on the road in a big stage. He's never asked if it was his exclusively decision to make. And that, I think, is a very important follow-up. Now, obviously, we weren't at the press conference yesterday. We were sitting back at the studio. We were carrying the press conference. And so, and frankly, I didn't think of that follow-up until I was getting ready last night with Bert for primetime. The idea that he wasn't asked whether that decision was his exclusively or whether that came collaboratively with ownership or whether that decision was handed down from ownership. Now, I want to say this because we just spent a week talking about somebody and basically a collection of people that have been recklessly speculating and reporting or putting theories out there under the guise of reports around this franchise. There's been a lot of reckless speculation around the Tennessee Titans here lately. And, in fact, Teron Davenport just put out a piece 5 minutes ago on ESPN.com that he told me he's been working on. talking to Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel about the power dynamic and things like that, and he's just published that for ESPN.com. So we'll probably go through some of that with you a little later on to see what quotes are in there. But I know Toronto's been waiting to be able to put that piece out there, and it seems no better time than to do it now after they've fired somebody. But here's the thing, okay? How many different ways does it have to feel like it's not Mike Vrabel before we're comfortable asking the question, well, was that actually Mike Vrabel's decision that he made? Now, that kind of borders on that reckless speculation part of it, but I do think it's a fair question for Titans fans to ask, and I think it's an important one because some of you just want blood, and some of you just wanted the guy fired. Some of you want more people fired, and that's all well and good. You're entitled to your opinions. But don't you want to know who's making the decisions, ultimately? That's been the whole curiosity with this thing.
And that's largely with player personnel.
Yeah, sure. But what we know about this time last year is they had a winning record. They had a lot of problems. They fired the general manager, and they haven't markedly improved since that decision was made. What does firing Craig Aukerman, if you were going to let him go at the end of the season, that's fine. If you wanted to fire him in season, that's fine too. We're 2 weeks removed from Mike Vrabel being pretty adamant about not making changes to his coaching staff in season. He was asked that question straight up, November the 20th. I went back and found the press conference. Mike, are you considering any changes to your coaching staff right now? Emphatically no.
Could it be the final straw in that regard that the miscue wasn't just a special teams miscue that led to points that contributed to a loss? Could it be that it led to a serious long-term injury to one of your best players?
Sure.
Like, how much does that elevate the seriousness of the situation? Where it's not just, we'll address it at the end of the season. Like, no, this led to a serious season-ending injury that's going to require surgery for Ryan Stonehouse, who feels like he's on track to be one of the best, if not already one of the best punters in the NFL.
Is getting
and a true weapon.
Okay, sure. And so I will respond to your question with a question. Does getting Ryan Stonehouse knocked out for the rest of the year exceed the level of seriousness of Todd Downing getting a DUI?
Ooh.
Right? Come on, bud. Like, they waited until they had a damn press conference at season's end where Mike told us he was going to take the rest of the week to evaluate his coaching staff. And then I think about 4 hours later, we all got an email saying that Keith Carter, Todd Downing, Anthony Midget, and a couple others were out.
Yeah, it stands to reason that decision was made long before the end of the actual regular season.
Okay, but they waited until the season. Hell, they waited until the wrap-up at the end of your press conference 4 hours later to put out a press release saying, yeah. You know what we told you about waiting the rest of the week? We got these guys right now.
And it's not like you didn't have somebody that you thought, well, then who's going to step in? It would obviously have been Tim Kelly, who did end up stepping in that full-time
So,
role.
again, I ask you the question, is getting Ryan Stonehouse hurt a greater level of infraction than Todd Downing getting a DUI? Because that was not enough to get to fire somebody in season.
Yeah, it's a very fair question.
Again, I don't want to be reckless with the speculation. I'm just saying that these are the questions that need to be asked, and unfortunately, frankly, we weren't at the press conference anyway, and I didn't think of them until later in the afternoon when we were reacting to the press conference yesterday as well, because there was a lot of information to process, and he'd given out a lot of information beyond just Craig Aukerman's firing. But I think that as Titans fans want to know more, discerning Titans fans want to know more about how this organization is being run. Those are the kind of questions that need to be asked today when Mike Vrabel does the least Mike Vrabel thing of all time. Of all time. That's the most interesting thing that I think he's done at a podium in his career as a head coach here. Just because of the larger implications that it has as we get ready to enter into an offseason that is filled with difficult decisions to make. How much more are other pieces involved that are either dictating these decisions or, if we're to go off the statement that was made at this time last year, collaborating on these decisions being made?
And you read his answer, right, about never having made a decision like this as a head coach.
Sure did. I'll read it again. No, there's no real precedent to anything. You try to get a feel for what's best and what's needed. Whether we've done something in the past, these times we haven't run a certain coverage or we hadn't run certain plays, and I think those decisions are about timing and feel. Now, here's the line that I don't know if I'm reading too much into, but that sticks out to me because sometimes these things are worth paying attention to in a Mike Vrabel press conference. So that's the decision that was made. Who made the decision? How many different people involved in making the decision? Was that decision made for you, handed down, and then you had to go deliver the bad news, or how did this come about? And that was a follow-up that was not asked in the press conference. I'm not faulting people because, again, I think a lot of people in that room weren't expecting Craig Aukerman to be fired until Mike Vrabel got up there and said it. So, worth paying attention to. 615-737-1045 is the number. The transfer portal, it opened up on Monday. We are going to go through some of the massive names, particularly at quarterback, that have entered in there and talk about Tennessee, Iowa. I don't know how I feel about that. Well, actually, I know how I feel about that. We're going to talk about it coming up next. Welcome back live from Toy Field. We're hanging out until 6 p.m. today. Stop by if you're doing some Christmas shopping or if you're just driving around. If you have a you and I talked about this to open the show. I went to an actual toy store this morning. All right, I don't know that I've ever actually been in a toy store like that, just a designated toy store.
You're asking where to buy toys?
Yes, is the question, because I Googled where's the closest Toys R Us today. This morning, and I opened the show to find that my childhood has apparently been defunct for the better part of a decade since Toys R Us went under. I didn't know this. So
I made a Walmart run.
Walmart, okay, great. Target?
I see a Target bag over here.
Target?
Yeah, I think Kroger. I think there are Krogers with toy aisles.
We can do better than Kroger.
But yeah, I think is the days of having just massive toy stores, are those kind of behind us? The way Blockbuster is defunct?
Well, that's the other part of my childhood that died. Because like Sammy went around and asked everybody what their favorite childhood Christmas toy was, and you made fun of me because you said there's no way that's actually a thing that I got stock for Christmas.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't lay down a slip of paper or something with your Charles Schwab stock.
Well, that's what I said. I said that's the more practical gift. Because, like, honestly, did you have a favorite toy growing up that you remember, like that's close to you in childhood? Because like that didn't necessarily come to mind for me. I can check my Schwab portfolio. I'm very grateful for that.
As a very small child, I had a stuffed bulldog named Bob, and that's the only toy that I remember. It was very near and dear to my heart until the age of, I don't know, 21, 22.
Isn't that sacrilegious? 21, 22.
No, but in reality, the best reaction I ever got from a gift was getting an Xbox 360 in 6th grade. 6th grade.
Yeah. So like that's so I think anybody of our age would probably default to, yes, the gaming console that we desperately want. But that's like 8th grade, 7th grade. Like these are gifts for children that are younger typically. Although, I'm sure that the Salvation Army and Forgotten Angels could also use gifts for older children, for maybe not quite teenagers, but preteens and stuff like that. That is something that a lot of people, footballs, basketballs, Kirby is literally throwing and breaking toys at Toy Field. Stop trying to help, Kirby.
Last year, I just brought a bunch of sports balls. I brought soccer and basketballs and footballs, and I just had a big old handful of sports.
Kirby is now trying to palm the basketball, of which he is. He looked
pretty
like
good.
He got it. Looked like he got it until he didn't. That grip, it looks frail, but it's very, very strong. It's like Adrian Peterson. It's just withered away by cigarette smoke. Anyway, the portal opened on Monday, and we have talked about the level or the caliber of quarterbacks that is in the portal basically every year that the transfer portal has existed, with the combination, with the gasoline of name, image, and likeness legislation poured on top of it, right? Where there's money to be made, where to be a quarterback with transfer eligibility has never been more valuable than it is right now, and where there are opportunities all over the place where, and I can't remember which coach I saw say this over the weekend, but I think it was Matt Rule talking about the idea of it being upwards of $3 million for a starting caliber quarterback. The name, image, and likeness cost, basically, that you would also almost have to start at $3 million to get somebody worthy of starting at a Power 5 program right now.
Yeah, the likes of Dylan Gabriel, who was at one point this season considered to be a Heisman contender back when Oklahoma was undefeated, coming off a massive win over Texas where Gabriel was fantastic and Oklahoma was still undefeated before dropping back-to-back games. Kyle McCord is in the portal out of Ohio State. There are some big names at quarterback in the transfer portal. It's going to get nuts this offseason. This is the most quarterback movement that we've ever seen in the short time that has been the portal era. Cam Ward of Washington State is officially in. There's guys that have their landing spots. Will Rogers appears to be the guy to succeed Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. The Mississippi State quarterback, Brock Vandegrift, former five-star, who's been backing up Carson Beck at Georgia, seems like he's headed to Kentucky. And Mark Stoops looking to replace Dennis Leary, who he got out of the portal from NC State last year. Aiden Childs, the Oregon State transfer, looks like he's headed to Michigan State, and that's not even including Riley Leonard, who appears destined for Notre Dame out of Duke. So the movement is insane right now, and there are some big names, some future NFL draft picks that are still out there and that are getting a ton of phone calls, and the NIL is going to have a whole lot to do with it, and Tennessee's going to be involved in a lot of those phone calls.
Who's the biggest non-quarterback name in the portal?
Walter Nolan.
Yeah. I mean, not just the biggest.
Quite literally and
Human.
figuratively. Yes, Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman from Texas A&M, who Tennessee fans will remember
Right.
from his recruitment at a Powell High School in East Tennessee. The Vols pursued him heavily from the Pruitt era to the Heupel era. He was part of the circumstances and the recruiting violations under Pruitt getting some of those benefits, but Heupel's staff did continue to recruit and push for him. So fully expect Rodney Garner, the defensive line coach at Tennessee, Josh Heupel, and the rest of his staff to go full court press to bring in Walter Nolan from Texas A&M, who has 2 years of eligibility, but I believe could go to the NFL after this coming season. So Walter Nolan's going to be at the top of a lot of lists. There are some good corners, a couple of corners out of Clemson that have hit the portal that I imagine Tennessee would look at. As far as guys that are outgoing for Tennessee, and we can bring up the guys for Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt seems to be emptying out its roster right now.
Well, and Sammy just pointed out that Will Shepard has committed to South Carolina.
Okay.
Received an offer from South Carolina.
And Auburn and Tulane. So here they come. Yeah.
And just a list. Well, you bring up Vanderbilt, and London Humphreys is one of these players that entered the transfer portal yesterday. He's a true freshman. He was on the show last year as one of the high school football heroes. And it's pointed out by the reporter. His name is Chris Hummer, National College Football writer and transfer portal. So they're hiring people and as they should, just designated to the coverage of the transfer portal for 247. He's pointing out just how much harder things like the transfer portal have made a job like Vanderbilt, because talent is going to get poached. I mean, we saw the left tackle for Alabama,
Tyler Steen,
who ended up going in this year's NFL draft. We now see London Humphreys. Like, it is impossible for Vanderbilt to be able to retain this kind of talent if they are not going to be able to compete at the level of other SEC programs. And, of course, it's just a cycle that continues to feed itself. So Vandy, even though they've made more investments in that athletic department, more so than they have at any other point that I can remember in the last couple of years, it's almost too little too late type of situation, because, again, they get left behind by the way that college football is moving.
Both quarterbacks, Ken Seals and A.J. Swan, in the portal. You mentioned London Humphreys, the former CPA star, who is projected to Georgia, according to 247 Sports. I have not seen an announcement from London Humphreys, but 247 Sports calling him a Georgia portal commit, where he would slide right in to replace Ladd McConkey, who is a senior this year for the Georgia Bulldogs. And, it is. Vanderbilt is going to have some work to do this offseason. Clark Lee is going to have one of the toughest jobs in all of college football this offseason to replace. It seems like every player that we talked about as a bright spot for Vanderbilt football last year, on their way out.
See ya.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I laugh only because, like, what else do you do as Clark Lee? Like, what could you feasibly do? Are you going to try and rally the name, image, and likeness collective at Vanderbilt? Does such a thing even exist? Like, I ask that question only because Tennessee's is one of the most effective in the country. Spire Sports, we've talked about it. And I'm blanking on the individual's last name. I know the first name's Hunter, basically the person who is the front-facing leader of Spire Sports and has done well to get Peyton Manning involved and other boosters involved. Clay Travis, somebody who's very famous at the University of Tennessee, involved and in the machine, basically, that helps crank out the funds for the name, image, and likeness collective at the University of Tennessee. Does Vandy have even a shot at something like that? Is there even an interest to mobilize people that way? Precedent would tell us no, that it has to be something that the athletic department and by extension the athletic director and Candace Story Lee would have to be, out front on, saying, hey, we need this. This is what is going to help make us more competitive. And just as they make that kind of decision to invest in the facilities that way, as we talked about, this next phase, this next layer of what it takes to be legitimately competitive in college football, it kind of takes over. And in reality, it should benefit programs like Vanderbilt, to be honest with you. From this standpoint, and specifically the quarterbacks, there are only so many jobs to go around. And there's a ton of talent out there, specifically in the portal. Like, should Vanderbilt not be a beneficiary before a program like South Alabama, where Trent Dilfer went this past offseason to try and capitalize on Elite 11 connections and things like that with quarterbacks? UAB, thank you, Jackson, for the correction. To go to a program like UAB, should that be the beneficiary of the depth of talent in the transfer portal, or should an SEC program like Vanderbilt be able to capitalize on this? I would think it would be the latter, but I know that that's not the case.
What would you say is the difference in average GPA for admission into Vanderbilt versus the University of Alabama at Birmingham?
There's that.
I mean, a lot of these schools that have fallen back in this era.
It just makes me think of that Dr. Pepper commercial. We have higher academic standards.
One of the best ones. They don't miss. They don't miss with those.
They're really good.
Stanford has fallen back. Stanford has taken, I think, one transfer in this portal in the portal era, and it was a grad transfer from Oklahoma. I think the schools with the higher academic standards have suffered in this regard on kind of being able to cast that net. Their net that they're able to cast, much, much smaller than the net that most of these other Power 5 programs are able to cast. So Vanderbilt's seeing a lot more outgoing, obviously, than they are incoming. Tennessee so far has seen Brandon Turnage, the former Alabama corner, who has been, feels like playing college football for 5 years now, didn't really factor in for Tennessee at the end of the season. I mean, they were playing walk-ons before Turnage, former four-star prospect at the end of the year. He's in the portal. Jack Luttrell, another defensive back, hits the portal. And Warren Burrell, who's been at Tennessee for a million years, also hits the transfer portal. So I expect Tennessee to target Walter Nolan. I expect them to target maybe a receiver, Julian Fleming out of Ohio State. We mentioned Shepard out of Vanderbilt. Juice Wells out of South Carolina, who torched Tennessee 2 years ago in Columbia. And one name that has been talked about as being officially offered by Tennessee and going to be in town soon for a visit is the tight end Justin Joly out of UConn, who caught 8 passes for 89 yards against Tennessee when they played Connecticut earlier this year. He's taking a visit. That's a spot where we've already talked about Tennessee desperately needs to add a big-time body at tight end, where it's Ethan Davis and nobody else in that room. And they love Ethan Davis, but they'd love to get a veteran guy who's experienced like Justin Joly, and Tennessee fans look to him because of what he did in Neyland Stadium just this past season. So it'll be interesting, and then how that impacts the bowl game. It's been frustrating because Tennessee hasn't rolled out a lot of these younger players throughout the course of the season. They haven't been willing to do so. I wonder if they're forced to do so in the Citrus Bowl against the mighty Iowa Hawkeyes, where does Jalen Wright opt out at running back? Does who gets more snaps then at running back? Do we see Cam Seldon actually get to play? Who gets those snaps at corner with the 3 guys that have hit the portal? Do we assume Joe Milton is playing? Do we assume Milton is playing in the Citrus Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, right? Just based on what you've just said there, like there are Vols fans who are legitimately frustrated, and we've heard from them. You yourself have expressed that frustration about a reticence to play younger players on the roster to their detriment, and should they have their hands forced and it pay out good dividends for the University of Tennessee on the field, that's probably only going to double down the frustration from fans who want to see some of these younger players, particularly in the secondary, or Nico, or the running backs and things like that, and to do so against Iowa's defense. I have not seen any opt-outs necessarily, and I haven't gone through the list of players who might potentially opt out for Iowa and things like that just yet. But why is it? Remind me why it's the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl? Those things don't seem to make sense to me. Like, I understand the sponsorship situation.
Right. Citrus isn't really a sponsor. It's more of just a fruit.
Yes,
Cheez-It is the sponsor part of it.
Okay, thank you for smart ass.
Oh, I can't. I can't wait for this game. I can't wait for this game. Tennessee, Iowa. It's disgusting. No. It is one of the sicko games of the year. The only bowl season.
I was trying to think of something that sounds worse than being stuck in the Houston airport on New Year's Eve, the way that I'm going to be this year, because the Titans play on New Year's Eve in Houston.
Yes.
This year, the only thing that I can think of that's worse is January 1st, Iowa, Tennessee.
Yes.
Like that sounds like just.
There it is.
No.
There it is.
I don't want that. Well, that's fine. It's the other side that I have no interest in. Did nobody else watch the Big Ten championship game?
Oof.
Oh, my God. Like, I just want to embrace the Iowa defense and be like, it's okay, guys. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're doing everything that you can out there. It's not your fault. Players, it's not on you. It's the coaches. It's the coaches.
They fell well below the 325 mark, 325 points that was put into Brian Ferentz's contract, the offensive coordinator, to score 25 points per game. They could not get there. They were shut out in the Big Ten championship.
They're almost like 10 points short of that.
Can you what do you think the most points Iowa scored against a Power 5 opponent this season is?
I bet it's not more than 20. It can't be more than 20.
It's 26, which I was slightly surprised to see. They beat Michigan State 26-16.
So how many of those are defensive touchdowns?
Good point.
How many of those are defensive touchdowns? This is how Iowa tricks you. This is how they weasel their way into 16.4 points per game. I demand to know how many were offensive touchdowns scored. I don't believe that's a real number.
It looks like just one.
Just one offensive touchdown?
It looks like one.
I told you.
They threw one passing touchdown.
Frauds.
No rushing touchdown.
Don't believe the Iowa
7
football
points on
team.
offense.
They're a lie.
Oh,
They're a lie.
Me.
What do you mean? It's Lucas. There is no way in hell that an offense like that scored 26 points on its own at any point in the regular season. I knew that number could not be accurate the way that we needed it to be. Anyway,
they have more punt yards than offensive yards, says Tyler in the F&M Bank
That's
chat.
disgusting. That's like, I don't care if Kirk Ferentz is the most revered person in the state. Like, if there is ever a fireable offense, your net punting yardage should not exceed your net offensive yardage in today's college football, when it's never been easier to manufacture points and yards as a result. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to join the conversation, we would be happy to have you. Cheeseburger.
Wellness check.
Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger is on the line. Cheeseburger's one of the most famous Florida State fans that we have, that's a caller to the radio show, and, of course, Florida State famously left out of the college football playoff. Are you well, my friend?
Yes, sir. I'm doing very well. I'm not on suicide watch. I'm doing very good.
Oh, God.
You know,
That's
hey,
good. Cheeseburger.
I was mad when I heard about it Sunday, but you know what? I'm pissed off for greatness. You know why? Because you know what? That's okay. We didn't get the playoffs, but guess what? We're gonna play Georgia in the Orange Bowl. So all you Georgia fans, y'all better get ready, because Florida State is gonna come after y'all in the Orange Bowl, and they are mad, and we're gonna prove to the world why the ACC should be in the college football playoffs. And also, to all the Titans fans out there, come on, we got 5 games left. Let's support this team. Come on, we can. Hey, I think we got a chance. We can maybe win out. I see this week. I think we can beat Miami. Hey, the AFC South is still for grabs. The Jaguars may have lost Trevor Lawrence for the rest of the year. Hey, come on, Titans. Let's rally around this team. Maybe let's go. Tighten up. It's a Buck Rising show all day, every day. Yeah. Buck Rising, Lucas Panzika, and also Cheeseburger Show. Yeah, the third man wheel, Cheeseburger. Let's go.
There it is. Look at Jackson back there working the music.
Some of his finest work.
Cheeseburger, you can't make me laugh like that today. My neck hurts too bad. It's becoming a legitimate liability.
A lot of optimism there from Cheeseburger.
You know what? I don't know that Trevor Lawrence is done for the year. He says the AFC South is still in play. Technically, he's not wrong.
So the Titans would have to win out. The Jags would have to lose out, correct?
That's right.
Is that what would have to happen?
That's correct.
And then you got the Colts and Texans, who are a game back.
They're a game back. They're both 7-5.
Yeah.
Just waiting in the wings.
That was awesome.
But yes, technically, the AFC South is still in play.
I will say, for Cheeseburger, what better way? The best revenge Florida State could get, because people have said they shouldn't even play in the bowl game. They should boycott the bowl game and sue the committee. The best revenge Florida State can get is to, number one, beat Georgia, which is a hard thing to do. We'll see how motivated Georgia is. Remember the last time Georgia missed out in the playoff, Buck, what happened? They lost to Texas. I'll just answer for you.
Thank you.
So they need to beat Georgia is the first thing. And they need to claim the national championship, a la UCF, is the second thing. That is the thing that would most delegitimize the college football playoffs decision to leave Florida State out. And that is a big part of how we would remember this season. That undefeated Florida State, when undefeated, beat the back-to-back national champs.
UCF.
And did not get into the playoff.
I love that this whole thing is just going to be driven by spite at this point. That's delightful to me. Also, Florida State has no chance against Georgia. So
we'll see.
Let's start there. 615-73. Yeah, that's right, Boris. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll recap the high school football season. No high school football hero for today, but just down the hall or just upstairs.
Yeah,
apparently.
they're upstairs.
That's why we have no availability for players today, because the Mr. Football Awards are going on literally a couple of levels above us here at Nissan Stadium. So Lucas, who has covered this entire high school football season, will take us through some of the highlights of the state championship weekend. I'm Buck Rising, live from Toy Field, where you can still drop by and drop off some toys. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to get you right if you've been having performance issues. Don't freak out. It's okay. A lot of dudes deal with ED. All you got to do is get the best support system in place, and that is available to you at the TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. 2 locations here in Middle Tennessee to get you the consultation, to get you informed about the treatment path that they will take for you as the individual, because no one-size treatment for ED fits all. The Tennessee Men's Clinic available to you in downtown Nashville, their original offices, or their newest location that they've opened up here in the last calendar year in Cool Springs. Their staff is awesome, and they will walk you through that process to get you informed and get you back to performing like you have not in years. Find out more information at the TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's the TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Welcome back, live here from Toy Field. We just saw a delightful stat as we were previewing the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. I don't like that. About Iowa football. Iowa, of course, facing Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl this year. This is courtesy of CBS Sports, and one of the listeners, Tim Nunley, has tweeted it to us. You can tweet the show at Buck Rising, at Lucas Panzica. Points scored this year. Caitlin Clark, the stud Iowa basketball player, has played 8 games so far this year. She has scored 237 points in those 8 games. The Iowa football team has played 13 games in the calendar year. They have scored 216. It is the single most delightful and also dumbest stat I've ever seen in my life. Kirk Ferentz should be fired yesterday. That's like
10-win football team you're talking about.
I don't. Well, okay. That is the defense of Kirk Ferentz. Lincoln Riley did the worst coaching job in college football this year. Lincoln Riley should have been fired yesterday.
I agree
Kirk
with that.
Ferentz is, public enemy number 2 on that list.
What do you think the over-under is for Tennessee, Iowa in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day?
Is it more than 30 points?
Yes.
More than 30 points. I'm going to say 37.5.
35.5.
35.5. I was too
35.5. So
generous.
it will be interesting to see if Joe plays. I think everybody assumes Joe will play.
I would love for that. It's nothing against Joe Milton, but I would love for that not to be the case, just to have something interesting come out of that game.
Sure. But I do think Joe would benefit more from playing and getting that just more good tape out there than he would opting out.
So you informed me before we delve into some more Tennessee Iowa stuff. You informed me that and the high school football playoffs that concluded that it is Jarrell Casey's birthday today.
It is.
All right, we have we've had a long-standing tradition around here of Stephen A. Smith celebrating people's birthdays. I've nixed that in your absence. I don't know where you were on this particular Friday, but when you abandoned me, we decided to change one of the biggest institutions that we have as a show. So, Jackson, I would like to wish – what's the birthday?
Jarrell Casey. How old do you think Jarrell is?
I bet Jarrell is 36.
34.
Okay. A very happy 34th birthday to Titans legend Jarrell Casey.
You're not a little kid. You're 21.
Is that Mad Dog?
No, it's Stephen A.
Oh, that's Stephen A?
We just changed it.
Oh, they're blending together. They're just becoming one person.
They've always been one person.
Are you sure that's Stephen A?
Can I hear it again, Jackson?
You're not a little kid. You're 21.
You're not telling me that could come off as Mad Dog?
No, we also played a Mad Dog rant. I think you were also not here for this when the day before Thanksgiving when he stole my thunder. I thought I was the person that didn't like family gatherings at Thanksgiving the most. Mad Dog Russo, as he continues to do.
Don't want to hang out with his kids.
Usurps me. He offered his kids to somebody else's family so he and the dogs could sit on the couch.
His grown kids.
Yes.
His adult children.
He said all he wanted for Thanksgiving is silence, no family, a respite basically from his 90-year-old mother-in-law, a gummy, an edible to take on the couch while he watched his college football, and for somebody else's family to take his kids. It's a master class in hating holidays. It was well done by Matt.
I will say in your defense, my Thanksgiving was just Megan, my girlfriend, and myself.
Yeah. It's the best.
It was the best Thanksgiving I've ever had.
It's the best
in my life.
Family gatherings, wildly overrated. Wildly overrated at this time of year. Just holiday seasons in general. You spend it with somebody else. Like I said, I'm going to spend New Year's Eve in Houston Airport by myself. That's going to be a little different. But the art of the large family gathering is very, very much lost on me. I can't stand it. I'm glad that Mad Dog Russo is my ally. Talk to me about some high school football.
So upstairs, as we speak, they are naming Mr. Football Award winners. So I'm trying to keep up to date on those names as they come out. The ceremony started at 11. It is now 11:51. I've not seen any news on the winners of those awards, so we'll kind of keep an eye on it. But great weekend in Chattanooga. When you look at the local teams, Middle Tennessee Christian, 28, Friendship Christian, 13. We had Eli Wilson, the running back for MTCS, on the show after their semifinal win. So congratulations to them, their first D2 single-A state championship game. Pearl Cone, 36, Upperman, 27. Man, that was a fun game. Will Bowling and Ramon Foster had the call of that game. And Pearl Cone having to fend off an Upperman surge. Upperman recovered an onside kick, went down and scored. Were unable to make it unable to get the 2-point conversion. Pearl Cone then scored to make it a 2-possession game, and the Firebirds are winners. Oakland falls on Saturday. So Oakland's reign of 6A has come to an end with Houston out of West Tennessee winning 24-9 in that game. Other Middle Tennessee schools, East Nashville fell, their third straight trip to the state championship. They fall to Alcoa, ninth straight state championship.
That's wild
for Alcoa, 42-20. Page falls in their third consecutive trip to Chattanooga to Knoxville West, 24-19. And CPA winners 35-13 over Boyd Buchanan. Congratulations again to Ingle Martin and his crew for yet another state championship. East Robertson fell after a phenomenal season to Riverside, 13-7. So the guys that I'm looking at are high school football hero, by the way, the last one of the year for today was out of Pearl Cone. He had a phenomenal performance. I'm pulling up his numbers as we speak. Obviously, he's upstairs because he is a 4A Mr. Football finalist, and that would be Zayon Simpson-Smith, who had 181 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and 7 tackles on defense.
Good God.
For Pearl Cone in that win. He has had an awesome season. His teammate, his quarterback, Keyshawn Tarleton, is also a finalist for the 4A Mr. Football Award. They go up against Gabe Borders of Macon County High School. We've had Dominic Reed on the show multiple times this year. The Centennial running back and outside linebacker is a finalist alongside Eric Hazard, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago. The Page linebacker, they've both had fantastic seasons. DeJuan Morris out of Oakland, along with Braden Graham. The Riverdale quarterback are finalists in Class 6A. A lot of really good players. There's a lot that I have not shouted out. Those are some of the guys we've had on the show. Isaiah Groves, East Robertson, a 2A finalist for Mr. Football. So crazy. Another football season comes to an end, but it always flies by, and it's really cool to see these kids kind of come up from sophomore to junior to senior year contributing, and the kids that actually emerge as older high school football players and make it all the way to Chattanooga. Always fun to keep up with. Enjoy doing that segment. Sad it's the last one of the year.
That's cool.
But I will say in January, we'll be picking up some high school basketball coverage on the Zone. So maybe Ron Slay will make a few appearances at some high school basketball games that I'll be broadcasting. So always look forward to that as well.
Perhaps. I was very entertained by the F&M Bank chat, where you can interact with the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch of you proclaiming that your Thanksgiving spent alone with your girlfriend was the best one ever. Emmett Jones simply says she's not listening, Lucas.
You don't know that.
I hope she hears this, bro.
No, I do know that. She's most definitely not
Megan
listening.
100% does not listen to this radio show. Are you kidding me? We would have gotten in. We would have gotten in a lot more trouble a long time ago if Megan listened to this radio, or at least I would have gotten Lucas in a lot more trouble on a regular basis. Speaking of things that get boyfriends into trouble, I've just seen the most heinous video I've ever seen on the internet involving Nashville, Tennessee, that took place over the weekend. I'm going to show it to Lucas during the commercial break. We're going to talk about it and the Titans coming up next.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica, broadcasting live from Toy Field at Nissan Stadium on 104.5 The Zone. AFC South news as Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence went down yesterday in the Monday Night Football loss in overtime to the Cincinnati Bengals. Head coach Doug Peterson stating today that Lawrence has suffered a high ankle sprain. He will not require the tightrope ankle surgery moving forward as the Jags fell to 8-4 last night. Titans news yesterday was Mike Vrabel stepping up to the podium to let us know that the team has parted ways with special teams coordinator Craig Aukerman. Assistant Tom Quinn takes over in the interim. Injury updates from Mike Vrabel. Punter Ryan Stonehouse will not return this season, undergoing surgery. Derrick Henry is not in concussion protocol after leaving Sunday's game to be evaluated, and Jeffrey Simmons will miss a couple of weeks with the knee injury sustained in that overtime loss to the Indianapolis Colts. Tonight, Tennessee basketball hosting George Mason for a 5:30 tip-off. The Vols dropped to number 17 in the AP poll this week. Lead scorer Dalton Connect, a game-time decision with an ankle injury. And the Nashville Predators at 12-12 head to Chicago tonight. They face the Blackhawks. Puck drop is at 7:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back. Final hour, live at Toy Field, live for one more hour for us, but live until 6 p.m. for the rest of the Zone on-air staff. We would be happy to see you. We would be happy to have you. Running out of room pretty quick. I think I don't want people to take their foot off the gas pedal here, but the field has filled up pretty remarkably in only the short time that we've been here. One more hour for us on air, but we still need more help because I would love to see this thing filled by the time I leave at 6 p.m. today, or by the time that we leave at 1 p.m. today. But if not, you have until 6 p.m. to stop by, bring a toy for the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels, a toy or a gift for a senior. Of course, seniors and the elderly in need at this time of year as well. You can jump in on the phones, 615-737-1045. You can jump in on the chat, where we are live streamed here at Nissan Stadium today, where, by the way, you drop off the toy, gate 1 of Nissan Stadium. Make sure you come in from the Korean Vets Bridge side as opposed to the Jefferson Street Bridge side, the way that I did and was almost late to the radio show because it's blocked off over there. So come in via Korean Vets Bridge side of Nissan Stadium. I guess that would be the south-facing side of the stadium. Yes? Directions are hard. South end zone side.
Yeah.
Okay. Just comedically, that. Just fading away from the microphone, leaking confidence everywhere. Yeah.
Hattie B's is here.
Okay. Do you want to go get some Hattie B's? Am I
wait.
interrupting you
I
from
can
Hattie
wait.
B's?
They haven't even opened the trays. I can wait.
Okay. Well, that's good. He's like a stray animal. He's just going to be using his nose to move the plastic and tinfoil out of the way. So
Speaking of that, Trippin' Titans on the F&M Bank chat asks, did Buck bring cat toys instead of human toys?
I thought about it. It was their. You're just going to make me sound like a disgusting, crazy cat person because I am at this point. But it was their birthday. Last week was their birthday? No.
Oh, no.
We're
okay to celebrate pet birthdays.
We are pro. I don't do like the birthday party thing, but you get them something, right?
Yeah.
You get them something. So I don't use Amazon for anything but that
cat
basically
stuff.
Because I'm like there's a pet shop by me. But anyway, I got them a bunch of toys that they don't use because they just want the trash. They want the boxes that it comes with.
That's how it works.
So I thought about bringing some pet toys today, but I was like, that's probably not. Probably if you gave a kid a pet toy without giving them a pet, would they be more upset about their Christmas situation than they would otherwise? I think yes is the answer to that question. So I went to the Nashville toy and bookstore. No free ads, except they were great, and they bailed me out this morning. Got a Barbie doll, got some Legos, got some Pokemon cards, which I know Bert is eyeing. Hopefully he doesn't steal them from the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels, although the more cigarettes that he smokes, the more I think he's been eyeing them very vigorously. Speaking of things that we're keeping an eye on, Will Levis, on a week-in, week-out basis, that basically becomes what the rest of our analysis of the season becomes. Because I'm not doing draft on December the 5th. I won't. You can't make me. And that's the one place that Lucas and I can be aligned on a regular basis, is that we refuse to do draft talk while there is still regular season football being played, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
On board.
Yes. So in the absence of that, Will Levis, on a week-to-week basis, on a week-to-week evaluation basis, he said himself, well, I'll let you hear from him for yourselves about how he evaluated his performance in an overtime loss against the Indianapolis Colts. This was the quarterback at the podium with us post-game.
Yeah, I think personally I feel like it's the worst I've played as a Titan, and just going to be watching the film going to make me sick just with all the misstops that I had out there. So I think just personally for me, that's what makes it feel as bad as it does. And still having a chance, even despite my play, to be able to go and win it and then getting the field goal in overtime, it's deflating and it stinks. But, I mean, I got to do what I can to be better for this team.
Well, like the conversation with Jihad and expressing yourself as a teammate, is this something you would have done a month ago, or do you feel like you've started to earn that right here?
I don't think I'm earning it per se. I just, it's more of a comfort thing. Like I said before, earlier this week in this press conference or before practice, like I'm still trying to find my way as a leader. And whatever my role is, could be different now than it is in a couple weeks, but whatever it is, I got to make sure it's natural and that I'm able to, get through to these guys and get the outcomes that we're looking for.
He said it would disgust him to go back and look at the missed opportunities in this game. He's very, very hypercritical of himself, and I know people love that. But, if he's doing this in losses, after a time that will fade, and then people will become hypercritical of him, not just his own self-criticism that he keeps arriving on. So he maintains that this is the worst performance that he's had since being drafted by the Tennessee Titans. His stat line, 16 of 33 for 224 yards. He was sacked 6 times. 6 times. Now, they weren't the worst sacks that he's ever taken.
It didn't feel like he was sacked 6 times.
Well, he was definitely under duress.
It was like he'd be climbing back to the line of scrimmage, right? He'd evade the pressure and then go down at the line of scrimmage. And that technically goes down as a sack
because there was no gain and he was still within the tackle box. It counts as a sack, and there were I think at least 2 of those of the 6 that he was under. He had the touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins, his longest pass. In terms of yardage, not necessarily air yards, but yardage total, 39 yards, and a quarterback rating of 80.9. On the opposite side of things, Minshew, 26 of 42, 312, sacked 3 times for losses of 12 yards. 2 touchdowns. I turned off my own microphone. Ill-advised by me. 2 touchdowns, and the long completion of 55 yards in the overtime period that set up the Michael Pittman touchdown that ended the game.
It was the lowest completion percentage of his young career as a Tennessee Titan quarterback.
So do we feel that it was his worst performance as a Titan? Because I understand what he's saying about some of the missed opportunities. There were a couple of plays, and I know Hopkins came back to it. In fact, he came back to Hopkins after one where he felt there was a missed opportunity between them. He expanded a little bit there about him kind of embracing that leadership role even as a rookie. And I tweeted during the game that that's the only time I've seen a rookie get a piece of a Titans vet's ass that way in a game was A.J. Brown with Taylor Lewan after Lewan kept false starting in a game here at Nissan Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs that they ultimately went on to win in the waning minutes of that game. Very, very closely contested. But I think that when he comes out with that harsh of criticism of himself, it makes it harder for us to have a harsher criticism for him than the one that he's already provided, where he said he's going to be disgusted by his opportunities. So if Sunday was his worst outing since being drafted by the Titans, what is second on that list? Pittsburgh?
No, I think he gave this team a chance. I think he was one of the few bright spots on offense in Pittsburgh, if I'm being honest. I think Tampa Bay, he was 19 of 39. 199 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick, took 4 sacks. But, again, that was another brutal performance by this offensive line in Tampa, where it felt like, again, the offense struggled to even get out of the gates. But is that how that struck you? Like when the clock hit zeros on Sunday, did you think, oof?
No, I thought he was the thing that gave them the juice.
Yeah, same.
Like him going out there, and listen, I know like Vrabel spoke to this afterwards as well. Basically the idea that, we don't want the quarterback getting helicopter tackled the way that this one did, trying to run for it on what was that fourth and short to try and convert, and did ultimately convert. Landed right on his butt, sat up, gave the first down,
flexed.
I don't think he's flexing. I think those are just his arms.
No, he did a flex. He was fired up.
I think those are just his biceps. But I thought that the only reason that they felt like they had any life at all in that game, there's 2 reasons why that game wasn't an ass-kicking in favor of the Colts. One, because the Colts couldn't get anything done in the red zone, anything at all. Had they been even competent, even somewhat competent in the red zone, that game would have been a blowout. And Will Levis showing his team, the crowd, for the energy for the team to feed off of, the coaching staff and everybody else, that, all right, I'm out there throwing my body around the same way that the rest of you, maybe not the same way that the rest of you guys are, but when the moment calls for it, I'm going to be there to deliver for you just the way that I expect you to be able to deliver in a big moment. Will Levis did that, so it's hard for me to look back at that and say that was his worst performance since being drafted by the Titans. I understand what he's saying about the missed opportunities, because he's looking at that and saying, we lost by 3 in an overtime game. Had I hit one of the, we'll call them 3 or 4 plays, I'm going to go through them with Cosell tomorrow to kind of flesh that out a little bit more, but we'll say 3 or 4 plays. If I hit one of those, then we win the game. That's probably how he's looking at it. That's probably why it feels worse to him, because he knows how close they were. He knows that he gave them some opportunities but missed some others and, ultimately fell short.
I mean, the play where the interception/fumble, where he then rips the ball out and recovers it. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback do that. Turn the ball over on a play where he's hit while he's throwing the ball. It's not like he threw it directly at the guy.
He flew in there so fast after throwing the fumble.
First, he threw the fumble.
I'm just going to call it that because it's an interception. He threw a fumble.
It was a fumble throw. It was the first reaction, right? The second the ball comes out of his hands, he's sprinting to follow it up like a basketball player that knows he's missed and is trying to follow up for a rebound. And he punches it out. Julian Blackmon, a good player in this league, the Colts safety, and he recovers the fumble, tries to get up and run it all the way. Those are the type of plays that I think are going to have Titans fans endeared to Will Levis. No matter, his performances are going to vary. He's a rookie. But plays like the helicopter tackle, which everybody's in agreement he needs to avoid, and the recovered fumble after the near turnover, that's the type of stuff that's going to probably win over this fan base and this team. It's the rest that obviously has to happen around him with this offense.
615-737-1045 is the number. How would you evaluate the rookie quarterback through these 6 starts? We could talk about that. Take your perspective on it. What have you made of Will Levis? Do you, in fact, think that that's the worst performance of his career, as he articulated there himself? We'll go through that, take some phone calls. Blane Bishop will join us.
Santa's here.
Also in this segment, Santa Claus is here. That's because we're at Toy Field, and there's toys all over the place. You can stop by at Nissan Stadium Gate 1 to pick up to drop off toys or gifts for seniors. The Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels. They would be grateful if you did, as would we. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. QC Kinetics is here to get you right. You know the weather's getting colder. You know if you have nagging joint pain that it exacerbates the problem. QC Kinetics and the regenerative medicine that they offer are here to help you. They have helped tens of thousands of satisfied patients around the country, people who had knee, back, or shoulder pain who were able to get lasting relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. If you have pain from an old injury or pain associated with arthritis, you need to check this out. The future of medicine is here. Regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics. So make the call so you can get the most out of 2024 and get back to doing what you love. And don't forget, you can use your HSA and FSA funds. Call QC Kinetics now at 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Welcome back here live from Toy Field. A lot of great presents out there, a lot of good gifts for seniors that have already started to fill up the Toy Field, but our guy Sean is standing in the middle of an empty patch of grass.
Let's fill it.
We need that filled up. Sean Good from 92Q hanging out. We got all the Cumulus Nashville stations out here to support a great cause. Toy Field made possible by our partners A.O. Smith, Cool Ray, and Hattie B's that Lucas has just spent the better part of 7 minutes shoveling his face full of You didn't get enough when we were out there at the factory at Franklin.
Never enough.
Never enough Hattie B's. That is certainly the case. We're grateful to them for providing lunch. Finally, Robert Walsh is consuming something other than cigarettes. I was concerned about his well-being for a period of time. Anyway, as we look at the Titans and kind of the situation that they're in, and Will Levis specifically, Blane Bishop going to join us as well. You said that you had gone through the play calling.
No, I have not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We should do that, though. We should do that. Great idea, bud.
Okay.
We'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Herschel on the F&M Bank chat says, Will Levis is a gamer. People slept on Jalen Hurts' talent out of college, but he was always a gamer.
Well, that is a great – I mean, it's not a quantifiable thing.
Well,
right?
but when we read Dane Brugler's analysis of certain players, and we have questioned at times the phrase competitive makeup, right?
Yeah.
Is that not something that has come into question before for players coming into the draft process?
Competitive toughness.
Sure.
Andre Dillard, a lack thereof.
If we're going to talk about it in a negative way for some players, like that was something that just reading from Dane Brugler talking about Jalen Duncan out of Maryland, right? That was part of Brugler's analysis, questions about his competitive makeup. And we haven't seen anything, to signify that yet with the Titans. But we talked about that a little bit with Andre Dillard.
In fact, does he care too much? He was crying on the sidelines after the loss.
Who?
Duncan.
Was he really?
There were screenshots.
Oh.
I thought he was sweating, but people said he was crying.
But with Levis, it is completely on the other side of that, right? Like if there's anything that he aces,
he's too intense.
It's competitive makeup.
There's too many neck veins going on any given first or third down. Like he is somebody who, and we talked about this, like how he manages that level of emotion, right? How he comports himself in a game. All the dividends on that we've seen thus far. Like there have been no real negative returns on the Will Levis experience, has there? At this point. Like
no.
What the biggest negative is there's some mechanical stuff to clean up, him stepping into throws, some footwork stuff while he's under duress. Like
yeah, he hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been Cam Newton as a rookie.
He hasn't been perfect.
No, he's not. He hasn't been C.J. Stroud, who is an MVP candidate.
Sure, but there is nothing to indicate about Will Levis that he is not going to continue to improve and has not been an upgrade over the previous situation. Correct?
The Titans have scored 28 points twice this year, both with Levis as the starter.
So as we start to learn more about him, about what he can contribute to this team, how much better he can get, you bring up Jalen Hurts and that level of competitive toughness, right? Jalen Hurts has not been MVP candidate worthy statistically this year. He has not been in that – he should not be in that conversation based on his – numbers alone. Whereas Tyreek Hill is quite the opposite of that. He probably should be the most valuable player in football this year.
He's about to have a 2,000-yard season.
He's going to have a 2,000-yard season. He's very, very much on pace to do so. And, perhaps the Titans will contribute to that effort in some form or fashion on Monday Night Football. But Tyreek Hill is the example of the statistics needing to matter more. Hurts is an example of the statistics needing to matter less because the number that I continue to come back to, or the fact that I continue to come back to, I guess it's not technically a stat, is that the Eagles are 5-0 when trailing at half. There is no other team that's even remotely close to that number. Now, I know they just got their doors blown off by the San Francisco 49ers this past weekend. All right?
That's a crazy stat.
At 5-0, there is no other team that has a winning record, much less undefeated in that moment when trailing at halftime.
They were leading at halftime against San Francisco?
It was like 6. Oh, no, this would have been. No, 6-0. Wasn't 6-0 the. This is a stat that
it was the Eagles were trailing 14-6 at halftime.
The Eagles were okay. So now they are 5-1.
So that was going into the weekend.
Going into the weekend.
Okay.
My mistake.
Okay.
5-1 going into the weekend because you're right. I had to think about it. For some reason I thought they had like a 6-0 lead at one point. But
they did at the end of the first quarter.
That wasn't going into half. Okay, good correction by you. So 5-1 at this point. Still, like you don't bet against Jalen Hurts in the second half. If you did for the first time on Sunday, you paid off. But there's 5 other examples this year of not doing that. And he finds ways to will them to wins. It's him. It's Jason Kelsey. It's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who, A.J. gets AJ gets a lot more love, it seems, like in terms of attention.
Then Devontae.
Devontae Smith is just as good a number one wide receiver as is AJ Brown, and I will argue that fact against anybody. He is phenomenal.
AJ's 10 times the persona, right? The personality.
I don't know. Have you seen Smith interviewed? Like he's pretty compelling.
But who do we hear more from? Who's more active on social media? Who's more, what's the word?
Who hurts more to hear from on a regular basis? Kirby, my mic pack is yellow. If you could come change my batteries, thank you.
Who do you think?
Told me to let him know.
Who do you think's the favorite in the MVP race?
Per
FanDuel Sportsbook.
The favorite in the MVP race. He just literally threw batteries at me. Thank you, Kirby.
They go in the same direction they come out.
All right, very good. Well, this is that? No, that's not going to turn off.
You're
going to
have to. You're gonna have to wait.
I'll do this in real time. This is like a Rubik's cube that you put in front of me. Thank you. Okay, so as the Titans,
just a hand in the Zone TV feed.
Literally just a hand in the feed. Oh, they both go in that direction. Okay, very good. Well, so as you look at the kind of who's leading in the MVP?
Who do you think's the favorite?
I bet it's not Tyreek Hill. I bet it's Brock Purdy.
It's Dak Prescott.
It's Dak Prescott?
Dak,
thank you, Kirby.
Per FanDuel's plus 300. He's actually tied with Purdy, so they are co-favorites, both at plus 300. Hurts is plus 350 in the MVP race. Mahomes is plus 650. Tua plus 950. Lamar plus 950. Then you get outside the quarterback position where Tyreek Hill is plus 1,500.
I mean, Brock Purdy, so somebody tweeted out a picture of the next-gen passing chart of Brock Purdy against the Philadelphia Eagles versus Dak Prescott. The Cowboys played whom this weekend? Thursday. They were Thursday Night Football against Seattle. So Brock Purdy next to his passing chart next to Dak Prescott's. And the difficulty, basically the degree of difficulty on the passes that Dak is attempting downfield is so much greater than the yards after the catch, the yards after contact that Purdy is getting by being a beneficiary of the San Francisco 49ers offense. Now, at the end of the day, the job is to execute and to go out there and execute, and Brock Purdy, beyond like the stint after the concussion, has been as good executing his offense as any player in the National Football League. He absolutely, if he's leading in all the advanced metrics the way that he is, he should absolutely be considered as an MVP candidate. But the degree of difficulty on what Dak is doing and an offense that has as much talent, arguably, as the San Francisco 49ers. They may have less if you factor in the state of the offensive line group this year with San Fran. Even though Dallas is one of the most talented rosters in football this year, Dak is probably more deserving than Purdy, but I understand why people are making the argument for Purdy, even though it's easy to kind of cast him off as more pedestrian.
I mean, who's more valuable on that 49ers offense, Brock Purdy or Christian McCaffrey?
Oh, McCaffrey.
Right?
McCaffrey. But they're not going to give it to a running back.
He's having a historic season.
Yeah, they're not going to give it to a running back.
It's like he's breaking a new record, or he has a chance to break a new record every week, whether that's a franchise record, an NFL record, a record for a running back. It's McCaffrey.
So you're arguing that Purdy should not be the Niners'
I love Brock
for
Purdy.
MVP.
I love Brock Purdy. But, yeah, Christian McCaffrey at plus 3,000.
Now, why do you love Brock Purdy?
It's crazy.
I'm curious. Because Brock Purdy is impressive.
Same reason why everybody else does, Mr. Irrelevance. Just
it's a good story.
Throwing dimes and leading, the best offense in football.
Herschel Nichols in the F&M Bank chat. You can interact there. You can call into the show, 615-737-1045. You can show up in person because we're live at Toy Field. You can stand under the very same heater as Robert Walsh is lighting a cigarette off of right now, as a matter of fact. He was going to do something inappropriate, but there's too many people around.
No, he wasn't.
Because there's food. Because there's food, we are safe.
Pro.
We are, yeah, okay, a professional nudist. But for Dak so the Niners and the Cowboys are two of the biggest brands, on top of being two of the best franchises in football this year. Is there anybody else that deserves to be in this conversation that is not being discussed enough? Because I do have a nominee that keeps sliding down the boards, and I don't understand why.
In the MVP race?
In the MVP race.
Is it Lamar?
One of them should be Lamar, for sure. Lamar Jackson is playing quarterback, playing the position and operating his system as well as any player in football right now. Lamar deserves to be in that conversation. Absolutely. But I would say that Tua Tagovailoa belongs in that too. Even though Tyreek Hill is phenomenal,
He has the same odds as Lamar at plus 950.
Anyway, Blane Bishop joins us now. We're live at Toy Field. Of course, the Blane and Mickey Show will be live from Toy Field in just a half hour from now. You can hear them from 1 to 3. Blane, who do you like to be the NFL MVP this year before we talk some Titans with you?
No. What's going on, guys, man? Yeah. Y'all tweeted out 12:30 because that's what I agreed to. I just want to make sure of that because I was on another radio show, so I couldn't answer. But
no, that's okay. We're happy that you made time for us anyway. We know how back-to-back the legend, Blane Bishop, the hitman, Titans legend of the game in Week 13 is. I know absolutely. But we do appreciate you jumping on, bud.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. It was fun. But, I like out of the norm. So for me, I really would like to see a non-quarterback win, and I like to see Tyreek Hill win it.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers, Blane, are eye-popping. He's on track for a 2,000-yard season. It's never been done in the NFL, and he's like the names that he is passing by already with still 5 games left to go, one of them against the Tennessee Titans. It's truly superstar-level effort that he is out there giving, and had another phenomenal game against Washington on this past Sunday. Against the Titans, they're going up against this Miami offense without Jeff Simmons. If they can't get interior pressure, Blane, what kind of pressure does that put on this secondary?
Ooh. I'm interested. Usually Vrabel and the defense usually comes out, pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and end up playing pretty decent and come up with a scheme where, you keep everything in front of you, play a lot of zone, make them dink and dunk all the way down the field and score, make them be impatient. Because one-on-one with Tyreek Hill, Waddle, I just don't. They don't have the guys, and not to be running vertically consistently anyway. So I would expect a lot of zone, regardless who plays and who doesn't play up front. But I would be putting a lot of pressure on those guys that they gotta, get after the quarterback, whether it's hands up, pressure all day long, and because they're probably not going to be able to blitz a lot. So that's what I would expect. Kind of slow the game down. I think it will be for sure a running game. Hopefully, Derrick Henry, as he said, he will be up, or whoever's at running back, Spears, and to slow the game down because that's the only way they have a shot. I will never, they beat the Chiefs when they were, behind the 8 ball, a couple years, 2 or 3 years ago. So you just hope something like that can happen in this game. But if not, the Dolphins have feasted on losing record teams. Now, their 3 losses came against teams that have winning record, or the Bills that have 6-6. So, this is going to be a tough task, especially without Fulton playing in this game, I'm assuming.
So if Fulton can't go, Blane, and Trey Avery gets in, I'm curious at a specific play from Sunday, the game-winning touchdown to Pittman, where Keith Bullock took to Twitter, and he's talking about Avery allowing Pittman to get the inside leverage there on the goal line. He catches the game-winning touchdown, and Bullock commenting on social media about how that, typically is coached. What did you see there and how the Titans defended that play, the game winner against Pittman, on maybe what they did or didn't do right?
Well, that was the same play that they ran the touchdown earlier in the game. And it's a pick play, and that's why they end up outside leverage. He didn't try to be inside. That wasn't even his guy. They ran a switch, so the splits were where if a guy runs out, I'll take him, and then if the guy runs in, then the other corner takes him. All they did was motion the guy over to disguise what they did earlier, and they ran the exact same play. So, you end up outside. So to me, that's on the coach because you should have made an adjustment after they ran it the first time for a touchdown and said, this is what we're going to do now if they run it again. And there was no adjustment. And that's typical when you have some form of I'm going to give it a pick pay or switch route in the red zone. And things happen really fast. So either you lock it up and y'all play at different levels, if you wanted a suggestion of what to do, but they ran the same play and they got the same results. And that's what's upsetting to me as a former defensive back that, you got to be here, but let's don't be dumb twice. And that's what they did. No adjustment.
Blane, how common do you think that Blane Bishop is here with us, Blane and Mickey Show, coming up next live from Toy Field. If you don't have time to come in and stop by with us here, Blane and Mickey will be on from 1 to 3, 3HL from 3 to 6. After that, stop by and bring a toy. But how common is that for you when you watch this Titans defense? Do you notice a lack of adjustments often?
Well, I'm going to take it away from the Dolphins. I mean the Titans. And
Okay.
I'm going to take it all the way to the Super Bowl, Eagles-Chiefs. And this is all about communication when you're the defensive back and you take it to the sidelines when you get beat on, basically something that was weak on your side as far as philosophy. Communication. Well, the Chiefs ran a touchdown with motion early in the game in the Super Bowl to the right side on Slay. They got him. And it was a pick play, right, or some form of that. All they did when they came down the last drive was run the same play on the other side and did it to the corner. The same thing happened with that means no communication amongst cornerbacks when you get to the sideline and say, hey, man, what happened to you on that play? And then now you educate one another, let alone the coaches. So it happens to all the teams. I just don't like it, and that's why I think Belichick, he just to have the horses, the game within the game and making adjustments as the game goes along from a defense perspective has to happen regularly or you will get beat consistently.
Blane Bishop coming up from 1 to 3 here on 104.5 The Zone. Blane, quickly before we let you go, and we do appreciate your time, Will Levis said it was his worst outing as a Titan. He said he was going to be disgusted, in his own words, when he went back and looked at the missed opportunities that he had. Did you feel as strongly as the young quarterback did?
Well, I did not feel that way.
Okay.
Now, he missed some throws. He was a little inaccurate here or there. Some of it wasn't his fault. He had some drops, as well as he threw some out of bounds because some guys ran the wrong routes. D-Hop ran the wrong route one time, and that happened a couple times that he threw the ball away, which was a safe play. So I don't see it that way, but I love how he's taking ownership. I think he went a little overboard. You can always play better, be critical, but from a public view, that is awesome. You're trying to play a perfect game, knowing in reality you'll never, ever play a perfect game. And so I appreciate that. And, hey, if he wants to say that's, what happened, maybe some of his decisions and the inner workings of the offense, hey, we don't know those things that maybe should have, went through his progression reads better. But, like, a play where they threw deep to D-Hop and it's a 1, 2, 3, so deep, and you get to choose a side, which one? You tell me. Am I going to choose to throw the NWI on a deep route, or I'm going to throw to D-Hop on a deep route, even though NWI, looking at the film, looking at the tape, watching it from up top like where we're sitting, you saw NWI was wide open. I would have chose D-Hop too, and he wasn't open.
He's Blane Bishop, 1 to 3 at @BBishop23 is where you can follow him, not just on Twitter for all his insights and analysis and Blane and Mickey show clips, but on Instagram, where he is very active on his regular weekly escapades is what I'm looking for. Take you behind the scenes as he was the legend of the game this Sunday. You killed it, my friend. It's always good to have you on the show. We appreciate you making some time, and we'll see you here in just about 20 minutes.
Appreciate it, Hoosier.
That's the man, Blane Bishop. He knows we've got a game tonight. Big game on Peacock against Michigan. Terrible. Terrible.
Will that outrate Tennessee George Mason?
Well, it's on Peacock, so I don't think the ratings apply.
That's what I'm asking.
We'll update some polls. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. You're listening to 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, it's Lucas Panzica to tell you about Hattie B's, and it feels very fitting to be talking about this today as we're live from Toy Field at Nissan Stadium. We are providing gifts to the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels, making kids Christmases. And who is here to provide lunch? Of course, it's Hattie B's. Last Tuesday was Giving Tuesday. 10% of their proceeds in Nashville going to local Nashville charities. It's just what they do. And there's a new location in Franklin, 230 Franklin Road, Suite 14B, right next to the factory. You know where that is. Opens daily at 11 a.m. Be sure to follow them on social media at Hattie B's, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Find out what they're doing next in the community. The good news for you is you can still swing by Nissan Stadium, drop off a toy, get some chicken tenders, some baked beans, some cobbler. It's all here. Hot or not, you choose your favorite piece of chicken, from tenders, sandwiches, wings, or the half bird if you're feeling hungry. Pick your favorite side. I think that they are the best in town. And one of the best things about Hattie B's is there's going to be one near you. Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, the Nashville Airport, or like I said, the new location in Franklin right next to the factory. From drop-off catering to full-service staffed events, they've got you covered. If you want to bring the heat to your event, you're having a holiday party, from hot or not and everything in between, Hattie B's is your place to go. HattieB.com.
Wrapping up here at Toy Field. Thanks for hanging out with us for our part of the programming, but obviously that's not done yet. Lucas, you thought you were done. Robert grabbed the microphone as if he was going to do something actually productive with his day instead of eat just free food that's out here for everybody, but roped you back into work, unfortunately for you.
It's all right.
Well, he's done an impression of me. Should we have him do an impression of you?
I don't think an impression of me is like that's not comedically. I don't know. Like what does an impression of me even sound like? I don't think that'd be funny. I don't think anybody is asking for
I think
that.
he's doing it right now, and it was pretty funny.
What did you do?
It was pretty accurate. No, you didn't hear it. You missed it. That's your fault. It's not his fault.
I don't think I have an impressionable candor.
I think.
So to speak.
What does candor mean?
It's only those words
That's
where
not.
you know what it
that is
means,
not
but
the
you can't
correct
ask if you're being pressed upon.
That is not the correct usage of
Candor,
that word.
I would say mannerisms.
Now go to the Urban Dictionary now, because now you have to read the definition for everybody, courtesy of the Urban Dictionary.
Candor, a ridiculously small town in upstate New York. Candor, brutally honest, the truth that may or may not hurt you. Candor, people don't sugarcoat the truth.
Yeah. I'm a closer definition of candor than you are, bud.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think these are not.
For somebody who uses words like delirium very casually, you should probably brush up on the Merriam-Webster dictionary once in a while.
The quality of being open. The quality of being open and honest in expression. Frankness.
Yes. Important. Excellent work by you. Jackson's just coaching us up back there from the studio, where he has been doing his work diligently for the past 3 hours, and we appreciate him doing so. Maybe Lucas will even feel generous enough to bring him back some Hattie B's.
I'm not going back to the station.
Okay, that's a good way to support your teammates.
Jackson, come on out here. Bring a toy.
Well done by Jackson. Yes, you too can bring a toy to come out here and continue to help us build a field of toys at Toy Field. Titans back on the practice field tomorrow. I don't know who the player is going to be just yet. We have been told that there is a percentage chance that Will Levis will join the radio show because of the extra day to prepare. We will wait and see if that is in fact the case. I have told Jared Puffer of Titans PR I'm just going to send him pictures of his quarterback throughout the course of the next couple of weeks, every week requesting the quarterback until such time as the quarterback is on the radio show. So we'll keep you updated with the latest on that. Are we ready to do some polls?
To be updated. We've reached a crucial point in the show. It's time to update the polls. Take my hand, get to the chopper. Lucas Panzica will give us the final update. Why am I yelling? It's giving me a headache. But it's only a headache. It's not a tumor. Hasta la vista, baby. I'll be back. Why am I yelling?
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. What in sports made you say, oh no, this weekend? Lindsay says, realizing that golf carts are apparently a rare commodity in Florida. Yes, that the Jacksonville Jaguars could not figure out a way to cart off their franchise quarterback and make him gingerly walk with the help of trainers off the field all the way back to the locker room. Karen says Florida State being left out of the playoffs. Jesse says the amount of people who thought it was roughing the punter on the blocked punt that got Ryan Stonehouse injured. I agree with that. So many people calling for a flag there. There is no penalty there. Kenneth says the video of a less than thrilled Michigan team reacting to who they were playing, realizing it was Alabama.
Was so funny. So funny to watch just the groans.
Oh. Yeah. A smattering of clapping.
Just quiet applause in the background. Yes, scared Michigan.
Yes.
America's team frightened of Nick Saban.
Do you agree with Will Levis that Sunday was his, quote, worst performance as a Titan? Puka says no. Gary says he disagrees. Steven says no, the Bucs game was his worst. Lachette says Will Levis has not had a bad performance yet. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't want to say that. He has had moments that are promising. He has stuff that he can build upon.
He's had rookie performances. But not once have we said that one's on him.
Carolina's when it translated to a win. I don't want to take Atlanta out of that equation because Atlanta, obviously his debut when he just came out and went bombs away. on the Falcons for 4 quarters. So I think on the whole, the returns on Will Levis have been positive. I would disagree with him that it was his worst performance. I thought he was the reason that they felt like they were the most in it.
Has he at any point this year been one of the top 5 biggest reasons that they lost a football game that he started in?
Oh, no. I would have to go much, much lower on that list of reasons why they lose games.
Okay,
so
on Sunday, special teams, the number 1 reason. Where
yes,
else do we
public
turn
enemy
to?
number 1, I would say the secondary and explosive plays, specifically in critical moments. Number 2, I would say that the injury to Jeff Simmons, inability to stop the run game late, would be number 3, because that was something that they did not have going with Zach Moss in the first half that very quickly started to pick up steam.
Allowed 6 sacks.
In the second half, they did allow 6 sacks. Certainly not Derrick Henry a part of the problem. The front was not overwhelmingly active, but they didn't get Gardner Minshew enough. He was dancing around pretty effectively back there. The inability to take down the quarterback. I'd probably go 5 different things before I got to Will Levis on that list.
And Harris on the F&M Bank chat points out Levis hasn't been a reason we lost. Or you can point at Tannehill for some of their biggest losses this year as
Certainly
one
week
of
1.
the biggest reasons. Week 1 sticks out. Who is the best overall player in the transfer portal? Kenneth says Walter Nolan. I think I agree. Karen says it's the wide receiver Juice Wells from South Carolina. OKC says Will Howard, quarterback, transferring out of Kansas State.
Riley Leonard, because he's going to be the next quarterback of my Notre Dame of Fighting Irish.
Your Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
According to reports.
Tennessee versus Iowa. Over-under, 35.5. 54% say under.
Yeah, under. No, just any game that Iowa's in, under. I don't care. Under.
What is the worst Christmas gift that you have ever
This was a good poll
received?
by you. You got to read the one that
Okay,
I sent
I'll
to
read
the
this
group.
one. Allison says, a bong my boyfriend made me in art class and gave me with family members. All of them were present. The boyfriend was thrown out of the door by my dad. Yes, back in the 80s, you could make bongs in art class. It was different then.
It was different then. Wait,
Are you kidding me?
Is this a Middle Tennessee? Is this a state where it was not legalized anywhere, I guess, in the 80s? But I just imagine a Tennessee family Christmas and the boyfriend who's there visiting, who everybody loves, busts out a bong he made in glass blowing class or whatever.
John says the worst Christmas gift he's ever received was a Christmas ornament. Literally couldn't play with it, and it was just going to sit in the box for another year. That is a terrible gift to give to someone on Christmas Day. Here, you can put this on your tree 1 year from today.
I don't think I've ever had like a Christmas present that I didn't like.
Mike says a shower curtain. Worst Christmas gift he's ever gotten.
That sucks. The shower curtain sucks. It's not like socks. That's practical.
Everybody needs socks.
Everybody needs socks.
All the
Everybody
time.
needs underwear, especially as you get older and things like that. Like you just need these kind of practical things. A shower curtain sucks. That's objectively terrible. Sorry for your Christmas. Those are the polls. That's the show. That's not it from Toy Field, because Blane and Mickey coming up next. They will continue the gift-giving energy around here. You can stop by and visit them. You can visit 3HL from 3 to 6. But for our part of things, we are done. Thank you guys for participating for the last 3 hours. We look forward to seeing how much more you give before 6 p.m. today. Come hang out at Nissan Stadium. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on 104.5 The Zone. The Hitman's here.